just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar, brought to you by Grumpy Coffee, guys. Basically, the best coffee in all the land. The best coffee in all the land, allegedly. So Everyday Grumpy is made from a blend of three variety of beans from three different countries. So we've got PNG, we've got Brazil, and we also got Colombia as well. And all of the beans are 100% Arabica, which have the reputation of being the best beans. I personally think the best beans, best tasting. We've got a cupping rating of about 85 out of 100. You will not be disappointed, guys. Go to grumpycoffee.com.au. Get your coffee today. Pods, whole bean ground. We've got it all. It gets the house 24, 48 hours. Any dramas, shoot some customer service a message. We'll take care of you. But outside of that, he made his debut last week. He's back in the side after last week's great performance. The Leaguie is here. How you going, brother?
Very good. First time was so nice. We had to do it twice. So
yeah, okay.
Thank you for having me back. I appreciate it.
A bit of hip hop. I like that.
Yeah.
Bit of hip hop. I like that stuff. Didn't know you were a hip hop man.
Oh, I'm full of references, bro. I'm full of references.
You'll be calling me Uso by the end of it.
Yeah.
My hip hop name would actually be Kefe Kemps. If you know.
Kefe Kemps?
Yeah, Kefe.
A little side business for you?
Yeah, listen, I don't think I'd get that many listeners if I'm being honest. I'd probably lose money, but that would be my hip hop name.
Yeah.
The Great Hammer. How you going, brother?
Coffee Kemp, I call you. After diving in with the grumpy coffee there. Mate, I'm good. Very good. Good weekend. Got my first bit of live international cricket under the belt for the summer. Very exciting.
Okay. That's why the bounce in the step was
That's
there.
That's right. So, mate, great weekend. And, good to be back.
So you walk in if you're doing a few of these ones as well.
A couple of cover drives. Don't bowl there.
Is that what you call them, cover drives?
Yes. That's what
okay.
Yep.
You'd seen them like pumpkins.
Yeah, beach balls we'd probably say, but yeah, pumpkins I'll take as well. Halloween themed.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what a cover drive is. You're a cricket expert.
Yeah, listen, where I grew up, we referred to it to a different name, but we were really
What did you refer to it as?
A drive that covered.
Okay.
Because we're a bit deeper in the game, but I don't want to to the casual audience of cricket that confuses them a little bit. Mm-hmm. But drives that covered is what we would call them.
Okay, very interesting stuff. We'll look forward to your analysis through the biggest summers of cricket in a long time.
Listen, hopefully we're seeing them like pumpkins. That's all I can say.
Yeah, sure. How was your weekend?
Yeah, it was really good actually. Went up to the Gold Coast. Actually, you know what? I'm glad you asked me that. I would like to formally thank, but also semi-apologise. Listen, I always appreciated when people travelled interstate with kids to come and see me. I don't think, and I was always grateful and I always said thank you, but I don't think I said thank you enough because we travelled for the first time with two children and I've always got a newborn and a 2-year-old. So 2 under 2 is what you shouldn't do, they say.
Yep.
We did that. And let's just say it was essentially hell. Like it said, when I went to the airport, it said Gold Coast, gate 13, but it really should have said Hell, gate 13.
Yeah.
Because that's where I arrived with those two. So I just want to send, first of all, a formal apology to anyone that's ever travelled with kids to a birthday or whatever. Second of all, thank you so much. I really actually do appreciate what you went through to show your support and love. So I apologise, and I'll be better next time. That's all. It's all about being better.
Yeah.
It's all about being better.
Got out of there in one piece though?
I think so.
Yep.
We'll see over the next few days. But anyway, let's get into it, shall we, boys? Let's face a bit of music brought to you by our friends over at Sportsbet. And later in the show, obviously we've got Code Sports segment, but we've got the transfer show brought to you by Code Sports, guys. What we're going to do with this is we've got all these great insights from Code Sports, and they've actually dropped their transfer thing on Code Sports today, so you can go and check it out. But then also, once the transfers begin to happen, we'll do another transfer show brought to you by Code Sports. But let's face a bit of music brought to you by Sportsbet. A massive thank you, as always, to Sportsbet for partnering with the show.
All right, we'll get stuck into 2 test matches. We cast our eye over this weekend. We had, of course, the first Ashes test. England 6 defeated by the Kangaroos 26. Now, Denon and the Leaguie, you both had Australia 1-12. Got a little bit too greedy. Obviously, Matty and myself, some of the sharpest minds in rugby league, went with Australia 13 plus at $1.93.
Yeah.
So we get on the ball nice and early there.
Oh, no.
Then you had Mark Nwangani twice had to score potentially 1, maybe even 2 tries.
Yeah.
He scored 0 tries.
I meant Reece Walsh, though.
Well, you didn't say Reece Walsh.
Yeah.
No.
Sometimes you say one thing, but in your head you're thinking another one.
No, not really. I usually just say the thing that's in my head. The thing that was in my head was Hudson Young. He didn't score, sadly. Leaguie, you had Joe Burgess.
Didn't even play.
Holy crap.
I know.
Look, you can tell my mind's on cricket. That's all I can say. Like, you can clearly see the season finish. I'm the greatest tipper of all time. Then cricket comes around, and this is a cricket podcast. I struggle with my tips because is Paddy Cummins going to play? He's not going to play. That's an exclusive. So yeah, I'm focused on cricket.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. My head's basically there as well, but that's all right. I still got one right. Matty, you had Reece Walsh, $1.83, so well done to you. You had a try score on the board there as well. Then we go to Samoa v Tonga.
Oh, no.
Denon, you had Tonga 13 plus.
As I said earlier, I meant to say Samoa 13 plus. That's what I meant to say. It just didn't come out right. I got a bit rattled by the cameras.
The score for those people playing at home was Tonga 6, Samoa 34. That try was in junk time for Tonga as well. I had Tonga head-to-head as well. I'll put my hand up there. Matty, you had Samoa head-to-head at $1.90. League, you had Samoa 1-12. Got a little bit too cute with it there.
That sucks for you. That sucks. We're equally as bad as each other.
Not really. You had Tonga 13 plus, which is
we've been through this, mate. We've been through this. A loss is a loss. Doesn't matter.
Solidarity with Kempy.
Yeah,
Solidarity.
That's true. Well, none of us had a try score. Kempy had Katoa. Matty had Talangi. I had
See,
Toya.
that's where I've got a bone to pick, though. He went with Katoa. There's 3 Katoas in their starting lineup.
True.
Yep.
We can't have that.
I don't think any of them scored, to be honest.
They didn't, and that makes it all the more impressive.
That is true, actually. That's even worse.
-3 points.
I said Katoa, not one scored. There we go.
Damn it.
How embarrassing. So there you go. No try scores for any of us. So at the end of week 1 of the international rounds, Matty, $5.66. Myself, $1.93. You guys currently sitting on a nudie run. Yeah.
Listen, I just think that drives home the point that we're a cricket podcast. If you ask me, I think it shows that the credibility I hold in the cricketing world. So I'm kind of proud of it, to be honest.
Sure, but for a bloke that calls himself the Leaguie, what's my excuse?
Yeah.
You got tainted by the desk. This is bloke's desk. I helped design the desk. You've been tainted by my...
Yeah, I think you were playing with a head knock last week because you also said you'd rather see England win. So
that's true.
There was a few
We'll get into that later.
There was a few things.
Listen, I appreciated him having shown a bit of empathy before, but I can't show any empathy with that. Every message you got that wasn't a death threat, you deserved.
There were a lot of them. There were a lot of people put in a shift.
And look, if I'm being honest, like even a death threat, I'd be like, a bit of play on. Just depends how aggressive it was. Obviously, I'm joking, guys.
Thank you for being so supportive.
Listen, it's kind of like, those stats, like someone like might have kicked 3 goals in the year and they've kicked all 3 and someone goes, see, he's got a 100% conversion rate. And like, well, hang on a sec. It's over 3 games. I'm going to make the argument it was over 2 games. So that 0 out of, essentially no tips correct doesn't actually count because not enough games have been played to show my true average.
Yeah, well, there's 2 more coming, mate. So hopefully you can get a tip right over the course of the international rounds.
Oh, wow. That sucks. That is brought to you by our friends over at Sportsbet. Give us a follow on the feed. Still got a bunch of multis up there, guys. Got UFC, got the footy as well. We'll have the cricket as well when it's coming on. So you can still go to the feed, copy. Anything happening on the feed for you
Well,
this week?
big stuff on obviously Melbourne Cup Carnival kicking off from next Saturday. Derby Day as well. So, great time to get on board. Follow us on the feed. Probably might try to get you to get a couple of rugby league themed horses across the Cup Carnival as well.
Vibe betting.
Yeah.
Okay.
A little bit of that.
That's what I do best, is vibe bets.
You do.
Then you don't have to be held accountable for your analysis. If you
Correct.
just say, I was all vibe.
Yep. That's certainly my excuse.
Alrighty, that is Face the Music, brought to you our friends over at Sportsbet. Now it's time for the Code Sports story of the week. Go to codesports.com.au/bloke. Use code bloke to get your discount. A massive thank you as always, Code Sports, for partnering with the show. And as I said, if you want a deep dive into the transfer market, which is super interesting right now, guys like Tino, Muntz is available to talk now. Some of the biggest names in rugby league right now are available to talk. Go to Code Sports, check the article out. Best in the business. But Mozzie, how you going, mate?
Hey boys, it's good to be here. Good to be here in off-season time. Although rugby league doesn't seem to slow down, does it, over the weekend?
It's the best. It's the best.
With the Kangaroos.
Oh man,
with only completing at 69%, they're still blowing away the English. So
I liked your connection of words there, 69 and blowing away the English. But anyway, just saying. Maybe I'm a kid. I've got a kid here. I'm sorry. I just had to point that out. You are a wordsmith, Mozzie.
A poet in our time.
Well. Don't the kids? Isn't it 6-7 now with the kids? Is it?
Yeah, 6-7.
He knows he gets it. He's like, okay, he's cool.
Do this here.
He's cool.
Cleary.
He's cool. Or is it 6-7? 6-7 means nothing now, doesn't it? Like,
I've got a son who says, "Dad, don't even."
But you're cool. You've officially you know what's going on. So I want to tell my son I'm cool all the time. Just driving home.
Yeah. So boys, it's as we said, November 1 coming up. Things are getting pretty exciting because I don't know if you know this, but obviously the Perth Bears come in 2027, so they can start signing players from November 1. But PNG is the other dark horse here because I think what we all saw last week, Jonah Pezzett signing 2 deals, one with Parramatta for next year, one with Brisbane for the following 3 years after that. There's nothing in the rules that says that PNG cannot come in on November 1 now and sign these guys that are off contract at the end of 27, end of 27 for the 28 season. So they could just sign a bloke who's off contract end of next year, end of 26, and then they could sign him for 28, and they could go and find that year, that stopgap, that year abroad, something like that, which would totally put the cat amongst the pigeons come November 1. I'm surprised that Perth didn't look at it, doing it last year potentially, but could be really interesting going forward to see how this affects it, because obviously with R360 going on in the background, will they, won't they, which could really impact what goes on. But I think PNG could be something else, and if you're throwing around tax-free dollars this early in the piece, it's going to be full on, I think.
And I think the power of that, as you just said, like, let's say you've got a player that, normally would demand, I'll just say 200K. You say to him, listen, we'll pay you 300K tax-free, so go and take a discount overseas or something, play for 70K for the year, and they're willing to go, yeah, I'll do that because I know my contract after. So I didn't even think of that. Do you think that right now this is the most pressure? Because I remember when Dolphins came in, it was a different world in the transfer market because people were using the Dolphins and, all that kind of stuff. Is this the most pressure clubs have faced in essentially the history, outside of the Super League, essentially the history of the game in regards to transfer market? Because, as you just said, PNG, Perth Bears, and also Rugby 360, all putting pressure on the market.
Yeah, 100%. And you go back to when the Dolphins came in, they swung at everyone, right? They didn't get their marquee on the massive money. They didn't get their $1 million Cameron Munster. They went after Brandon Smith. They went after a stack of... they got some good talent, right? They got Hamaso, who I thought was a great buy.
Yep.
But I think this time round, without doubt, and clubs have been clamouring to sign their players up. So we went through... We've done a big piece on the top 33 free agents out there, and I go to the front of this list just to give the audience a bit of a view. Payne Haas, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's going to settle in Brisbane.
Yeah, let's just settle. Let's come on. We won a grand final. I know everyone hates the Broncos, but let's just pump the brakes on the Payne Haas leaving stuff.
Number 3, Harry Grant. He's just about to re-sign for an extra 2 years. He's okay. James Tedesco, he's not going to go anywhere. I think Tom Trbojevic is probably going to sign the 1-year deal. Number 2 on that list, Tino Fa'asuamaleaui. Big question marks about where he goes as to whether he stays. Dean Ritchie spoke to him over in the UK during the Ashes build up to that first test, and he said that basically he wants to win. He went up there to set something up there and build something. Hasn't happened. He's been let down multiple times. He's obviously had a couple of coaches go through as well, and there was the will they, won't they with Craig Bellamy. But, you look at some clubs now who are after a good, strong middle like that we discussed off air before. Canterbury could be in the mix, and Georgia Illawarra will be interested. The smoky for me is Melbourne Storm. A return to the Melbourne Storm. If Ryan Pappenhausen goes out the door at Melbourne, and I love Paps, I'd keep him all day long, but you look at what Melbourne have got. They have Ryan Pappenhausen there on big money. A guy named Suafalogo behind him. Good talent. Only played 7 first-grade games this year, and he was electric in 2024. Yeah. And then they've got a guy in Flegg coming through by the name of Hugo Peel, born and bred Victorian, really good young fullback. So they're pretty well stocked. So if I'm thinking, all right, I fell short at the Storm from beating your Broncos to that premiership, how am I a better team going forward? Am I a better team with Pappenhausen and no Fa'asuamaleaui, or am I a better team with Tino there, Suafalogo there, and then looking at where I've got? Especially
when you consider Nelson's situation. He's gone now. So, they can't even call on that big boy. I know Stefano's a big boy, but he probably needs a little bit of help with someone else. And they would have had Nelson if everything was going swimmingly, I guess. So, yeah, Melbourne Storm's a huge, huge shout. I will say it's, and you guys might be able to remember a little bit better, but I just wanted to lay out kind of what happened with Tino and the Titans. If you actually go back, and obviously you'd remember this, when they sacked Holbrook, they didn't tell him. They didn't speak to the club captain. And at the time, I empathised with the Titans because sometimes you've got to be ruthless and you can't let stuff go out. And that was a ruthless call. I know Holbrook had a clause in his contract where they could have done it. They actually were within their right to move him on. But if you're the Titans and you're willing to sacrifice damage your relationship with your captain because you want to get the deal done, and arguably, ethically, maybe not actually in the best interest of your relationship with Tino, it better work. And so it's not just the Bellamy stuff recently with Hannay that's come in, and it's not just the the spoons under Desi or close to a spoon under Desi that's been. It's all the way back to there where the club essentially sacked a head coach and brought in someone else without even discussing it with the captain. And as I said, I understood at the time because it was so sensitive with stuff getting leaked, but it doesn't change the fact that it happened and it didn't work out.
Well, it was one of the, and no disrespect to Titans fans out there, your club runs things terribly. But, you look at what's happened recently with Josh Hannay and Craig Bellamy. We won't even get into that at the moment. But the Des Hasler situation caught everyone by surprise. They just went bang, went, holy crap, Des is going to the Gold Coast. We didn't it? And places leak. And they did that so clandestinely that you go, okay, but what does it do for your culture when you're not bringing in your captain and showing him the direction of your club and where you want to go and where you want to be? It just, and I like Josh Hannay. I think he's got a big future, but he's got a big couple of months now to try and convince Tino that it's the place to be because it'll have a big impact on Hannay's success there, right? That's a big carrot for him to try and get him to stay now. So we'll see where that goes with it. But another guy I wanted to mention because good forwards are a premium in this market. Jaden Sewer at the Dragons. I reckon if he was at any other club this season, you'd be saying he's one of the top 5 players, top 5 forwards in the game. I think he had a really good year, and I think he's got an option in his contract. So whether if St George Illawarra can manage to keep him up, but if I'm another club who's looking for something there, I'd be really eyeing him off as someone to get. So that'd be a bit of a watch this space if you're Dragons fans because you've seen what Flano's tried to do there. He's got. You've talked about Tyrell Sloan, Blake Laurie, guys that are on inflated contracts that he needs to get out the door, which, no disrespect to him, but I think they will be at other clubs going forward. So he's got to clear this cap out. He's got this young group of forwards, the Hamish Stewarts and all that they want to bring through. And then now he's going to want to try and make a couple of big plays in the free agency world. But I think retaining Jaden Sewell is going to be massive and there'll be some clubs knocking on the door for him.
He was their player of the year last year, wasn't he? I'm pretty sure he was. What club are you hearing is looking to be the most aggressive in the market?
Well, the thing is at the moment, you look around salary cap with the clubs that don't have a lot of room to move. So your Broncos don't have a lot to go on. Parramatta don't have a lot to move this time round.
Because they're still paying a lot of people that they've moved on.
Done a bit of, they're paying for the restructure, but I think they're comfortable in that because they've got some good young kids coming through. So, but now, I just said before, look at Melbourne with their money to spend. They haven't had money to spend on the cap for a while.
Yeah.
Parramatta will have some for 27. They don't have much going on for next year. The Dragons are going to be active. And you look at teams, Manly's an interesting one because they're pretty comfortable where they are, but they've got some re-signing to look at. So
are you hearing out of Manly they're comfortable with their roster right now?
Yeah. Well, they've got to look at the 1-year deal for Tom Trbojevic. They've got to get that sorted. They've got to look at what happens with Jakey's future. But
how about buy some forwards? Yeah. I don't know, it's just throwing it out there.
What?
Yeah, but Ruben Garrick is the other big one. He's going to want to maintain the wage that he's on currently.
Yeah.
And I think that may mean him leaving. So they've got to look at where they spend their money at there.
That's going to be interesting because Ruben, loved by the club, bloody good player, probably their most consistent outside back. Probably. I mean, I know Kula was their player of the year this year, but consistency over the last year is probably their most consistent outside back and a goal kicker.
Yep.
Wow, that's going to be, that's going to be super interesting to watch. Okay, so in regards to the Pezzett situation, how did this happen? Because there are a lot of Eels fans that are okay with it. A lot of Eels fans don't understand what the club gets long-term from it. Eels have since then kind of come out and said, no, it's all part of the plan. I'd love to get, how did that all happen? What are your thoughts? What are the Eels' thoughts? How does the Storm feel? How do the Broncos feel?
As an Eels fan, my initial thought was, sign in for 1 year, what's going on? But you dig a little deeper, and I get it. And I'm not here to be an Eels apologist, but
some of those younger guys coming through, they just need a few more years.
Can I just put on your radar? A couple of things first. Jonah Pezzett wants to play halfback. He wants to own a team. He's not going to do that in the next 4 years at Para.
No.
You've got 4 more years of Mitchell Moses. He's 31 at the moment. He's not going anywhere. So you're going to be playing 6. He gets that option at Brisbane. So that's why he's gone there. Parramatta are really high on this young kid, Lincoln Fletcher, who's just come through. Him and Lorenzo Talatania at SG Ball level took him to the grand final. Lorenzo's a super talent. I think he'll be their long-term 6. I think Lincoln will be their long-term 7 if they keep developing him. And how short of memories do we have as Eels fans? Because the last SG Ball winning halves to come through were Blaze Talangi, Ethan Sanders. Neither of them are still at the club. Yeah. Because why? Because they didn't see a path to first grade there because they had Dylan Brown and Mitchell Moses ahead of them. Who would have thought that Dylan Brown would walk out for a $10 million deal? So the Eels are looking at that and going, okay, we've got to bring these guys through. And they're going to do, I think Lincoln's still young enough, still eligible for SG Ball next year. Lorenzo played 8 games of Cup towards the end of last year at 5'8". Last season was really good. They're going to play NRL. They're going to have an NRL preseason in the top 30 this year, which just another part of Ryle's bringing him through developing these guys. And so, and I'm a big fan of Joash Papali. I think he's a great talent, but he's untried at senior footy at 5'8". So he's going to need some time. And again, Eels fans, you kicked off last season with Ronald Volkman as your halfback. And Ronald Volkman did tremendously well, but he hadn't played in 18 months. He'd come back from major injury and you were down to your 3rd string halfback. So you need, you know, if you win a couple of those earlier games, who knows whether you're in the hunt for a top 8 berth. So Jonah Pezza gives you a win now mentality. It takes the pressure off Joash, who I kind of see more as a fullback than a 6, but maybe they gives him the time to develop into that role where he could maybe be the 14 long term going forward, or who knows, or find himself that spot in that back line and then bring these young guys through. So that's what that's going to do. The Jonah Pezza situation does, and because I think we saw in that first final that he's ready to play first grade consistently. So him and Mitchell Moses there, 6'7", as a major signing for 1 year, and then the Eels plan for what they do going forward. And I get the rhetoric around, we dropped Dylan Brown to plan for the future. Well, this is still planning for the future, just in a different way. Yeah. So I think they kind of need to understand that's where they're going. So as an Eels fan, I'm kind of excited.
You know what I just couldn't get out of my head then? I just hope that Lorenzo looks like Antonio Banderas out of Desperado. With a name like Lorenzo, I'm just hoping he has a guitar or something with it at all times. All jokes aside, do you think there is a case of... Because we all heard the whispers... When Brown was moved on, they were going to go to the market. Then Josh Papali'i came in and they were like, he could be the long term. Is this a reaction to, maybe Papali'i is more of a fullback? Is there any whispers on that at all?
Yeah, I think they know. I mean, they definitely know more than me about where Josh is. But he played 2 full seasons at Canterbury in reserve grade at fullback. Yeah. He played at Parra at fullback and then switched to 5'8". So he's played a bit of in the halves in his junior years, but he's more a backline player. He's more a fullback, and Parramatta know that. But they're looking at their options and they're looking at their production line of these guys coming through and go, okay, well, and you're talking kids who are still 18, 19, so they're not going to be ready for full on first grade for a couple of years yet. So you've got to have patience in that regard, but you also don't want to be signing players on top of them. You're going to limit their ability, because that's been Parramatta's drama, right? You sign guys and they don't turn into first graders. So. I think that's a bit of the case. And it's not a slight on Josh, because he's an exceptionally talented kid. And they're just going to see how he develops in the next couple of years. And that gives them the freedom to do that. So I'm all for it. And losing Brendan Hands and Dean Hawkins now, that 14 role's there for him to own.
True. I think all Eels fans would probably want to know the answer to this question, because it'll probably either ease their mind or whatever. If Pezza was available for a 3 or 4 year deal, would have the Eels sign him on a 3 or 4 year deal? And the reason I ask that is the answer to that question will show you whether this was all planned or they just took what they can get in the market.
I think they were told early on that he wanted to be a 7. So that was not the option for them.
Yep. So this is always in the plans from... okay. Because I think there's some Eels fans go, you're just saying that now because he landed at the Broncos.
No. Okay. And his management have said that he wants to be a 7. He wants to run a team. So that's... And look, hey, when you're out there and you're in expanded competition in 27 and 28 and you're a good young half, you can dictate terms a little bit. Right. So it's how good a time is it to be a player and say, I'm going to back myself to go and be a halfback. And, hey, be careful what you wish for, because being the starting halfback at the Broncos is a tough ask. But I think he's a gun. I think he'll do really well.
Yeah.
So good on him.
Any questions on Pezzett?
Yeah, I was just going to note that you mentioned Dean Hawkins is gone. It helps Parramatta to have a 7 in the building for when Moses potentially gets picked in Origin or is a little bit injury prone.
Very true.
So they would have been a little bit exposed, I think, if they hadn't picked up Pezzett during that period. So
That's a really good point. Really good point, because obviously he'll most likely play Origin, I'd say, Moses.
Yep.
Anything of the Para chat before we move on to the Broncos Pezzett chat?
No, I think that's all pretty thorough. Yep.
Okay, the Broncos Pezzett chat. Now, I'm going to be honest. When I first heard the news, I hated it, when I hate something, I usually have to go, okay, what's my bias here? Like, what am I connected to? And I thought about it quite a bit for a whole day, and was like, you know what? It's probably because I'm already connected to Kobe Black. Like, I'm already like, he's the next guy, and I want him to do well. I've seen him in the under-19s, and he's been part of the Broncos for a while. Until I took a step back and tried to look at it as logically as possible, I'm like, well, at the end of the day, Pezzett's young. He's in the Melbourne Storm system, so there's your almost like a blue tick on Twitter or whatever. You know, if you're with the Storm, you've got something about you. But also, like, at the moment, Kobe Black has yet to do anything in first grade, been solid in Queensland Cup. And so once I started like going through the process and like disconnecting my bias to a little bit, he actually is exactly the type of 7 that the Broncos need. Now, I think the only his style of play suits the Broncos. Good kicker. He's not going to be a Sam Walker type halfback. He's going to get you around the park. I guess the only thing I get a little bit worried about when I hear that he wants to be the main man, it's like, you're not the main man of the Broncos. And being the fair dinkum department, you'll never be the main man at the Broncos. It's going to be Reece Welch. It's going to be Ezra Mam. Now, that's just of one quote. Like, that doesn't mean he fully thinks that. He could be saying main man as in he just wants to be the guy that gets around the park. But that is one thing that you sometimes with halves, 6s and 7s, like let's say you've got a superstar 6 and a superstar 7 that have come through the grades in their respective teams, they were the man. And it's actually not the physical side of rugby league that makes them struggle together. It's the mental side of going, I'm the man. And I think, you're a Roosters man. Sam Walker's career has been a perfect example of that. When he is told he's the man, he kills it. When he's told he's second, he struggles. What are your thoughts on the Broncos situation of signing Pezzett?
I had the same. My immediate thought went to, Kobe Black's no good. Then what's going on there? But you talk to people, and I go back to the point before. Number 7 at the Broncos it's probably the second toughest job outside of being the coach of the Broncos, right? And why put that pressure on a 19-year-old who hasn't played first grade yet?
Yeah.
And we're saying, we don't know how good he is because we haven't seen him in NRL, but the Broncos know how good he is. They've been developing him. They've been exceptionally patient with him, with Blake Moser. Yeah, and so this has been a deliberate ploy by them to bring them through. So, and if you've got the opportunity to get a guy like Jonah Pezzett, you'd be remiss in your duties if you can't get someone like that who's looks like he's going to be a proven long-term gun first grader, you get him on board. So,
especially the style he plays too. I think that's the most important thing when you're with Ezra Mam and Reece Walsh. You need to suit them.
Yeah, and I think to your point before about when I said he wants to be the main man. So but he wants to run a team. He wants to be the organising halfback. That's what he sees as his role. And look, putting him with Reece Walsh together, if I'm a Broncos fan, I'm really excited. But also, I think it gives them that time to blood Kobe Black slowly and see where he fits in, and hey, let him fight for it. If he's good enough, fight Ezra Mam for that spot. Fight Pezzett for that spot. Earn that spot in there. So I don't think they're...
Well, even when his contract ends, Pezzett's is a 3 or 4 year deal. Like, Kobe Black will be 23. I think we've been a bit like... bamboozled by Nathan Cleary. Like, you're supposed to be the full package by the time you're 19. You hear Mitchell Pearce talk all the time. He said, I was probably brought into Origin a bit too early. Even Nathan Cleary, there was a year where, and I know Panthers fans try to deny this, but there were a lot of fans that wanted him and his father gone. In 2019, I think, then they won 6 games in a row. Look at Sam Walker. Like, came in, was the man, and then his development just completely hit a for whoever's fault it was. Like, it doesn't really matter. The point is this whole, if you're 18, you should be the man halfback. It's like, no, usually halfbacks should probably come in at about 23, 24 years old. Thoughts, League?
Yeah, well, and to back that up, they signed Tom Duffy from the Cowboys for next season as well. So that's another halfback that they brought in over the top of Black. He hasn't really been part of these discussions. I feel a bit sorry for him. Barely.
I see him as a 6, if I'm being honest, Duffy. I really, but I know what you're saying. He hasn't been spoken about quite a bit, but he was purchased before Pezzett.
Yeah, so that speaks to the sort of intention of thinking, well, maybe Kobe Black isn't quite ready yet, so we'll put another guy sort of in that position.
Yep. And I think as well, from a Broncos perspective, we have to remember Ben Hunt's gone. I'd be very confident Ben Hunt is gone after next year. Reynolds is definitely gone after next year. Well, not definitely, but, most likely. So we actually do have 2 spots in the roster right now for halves. Like if you were to go, okay, in the top 30, you need 4 halves or probably more, 5 if you include 6. That actually is the right amount. Look, they're unproven yet, but in regards to Duffy and how talented he looks, like I can't believe the Cowboys let him go. I'm shocked beyond belief. Like I don't know how the Cowboys can go from you are our starting 7 to we don't even want you by the end of the year. Like it doesn't make any sense. But anyway, he's leaving there. But I love the Duffy signing. I think he's super talented. I do think there's a chance he could be a good 6 because I actually think he's not, at least he looks like quite a bit bigger body. And so maybe there is a world where if Ezra gets hurt and he can come in at 6 and Pezza can be 7. As I said, initially I hated it. When I sat down and thought about it more, I was like, no, this actually is a really smart move from the Brisbane Broncos.
It's interesting. And to your point, that Nathan Cleary, Isaiah Katoa, Sam Walker have totally just skewed the way that we see halves.
Katoa got dropped last year. You know what I mean? Like you could even argue if that wasn't a new club, he wouldn't have been starting yet.
Walker got dropped not that long ago either.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago.
Matter of fact, when you actually look at Penrith and the way they've planned, it's this year that Isaiah Katoa was supposed to come in and partner Nathan Cleary because that's when Luai, they had a plan where basically Luai goes, Katoa comes in. So think about that. Like Katoa, if he was at the Panthers, probably he would have debuted, but being the main man, it would have only been 2025. And so, yeah, I'm with you boys. I think that we've been a bit like, it's like the Payne Haas and Tino front row thing. They come in they're guns and you're like, okay, every front rower, if you're not a gun by 18, you're not good. It's like front rowers used to be like 25 when they were debuted. Is there any other what's the most surprising movement or whispers at the moment that you hear in the transfer market?
Well, there's 2 names. One, just sticking with the Cowboys, Jackson Purdue. I think
that's interesting.
I think the re-signing of Luke Metcalf at the Warriors has had a trickle-down effect. So guys like Jaden Campbell, he's got a big offer to remain on the Gold Coast there. All of a sudden, he comes in the spotlight. Someone like Jackson Purdue, is he a centre? Is he a fullback? Do you want to slot him in your halves? I mean, St George Illawarra, Cronulla, Perth. Does anyone want to get in there and have a look at him? I think I loved watching him play. I think he's amazing. He's got a big future. He's a big name on there. And I'm sorry, Hammy, before I thought we'd get away without it, but Jareem Buller is the other one. Tigers have to work extra hard just to show them that, hey, we've made forward progress here. If you can get your spine locked in, mate, then away you go. But that concerns me with how, you look at teams that need a fullback, and with expansion, he's probably the best of the rest out. The best.
Well, he did expansion and also existing clubs where he's been spotted sitting in their friends and family area at certain games.
I will say he did say cap to a recent story. Now, I don't know if you know this. You are cool, but I don't know if you're this cool. Cap means that's a lie. Are you capping, bro? They were capping. People regurgitating the story, they were also capping. So there's no dramas between him and the club, at least according to Bull on Instagram.
Was that regarding his partners?
Yeah, he's unhappy with that. Essentially, the story was, and it was, the source was I think it was a PNG paper or whatever. Essentially, the implication was he's unhappy. Like he basically, if you read that and you believed it, he's Gonskis. The fact that he wrote, cap, you're capping, bro, that's a good sign for the Tigers.
I took some comfot from the cap comment, for sure.
Did you head to Urban Dictionary first to figure out?
No, I'm familiar with cap.
He's cool. He's
down with the kids. He's down with the kids.
Yeah.
Did you have a cappuccino after or no?
I did, actually, to celebrate. Celebrate that he's extending.
But it's interesting just on the Tigers because spoke to Jerome Luai before the Pacific Championships and just asked him about his future, and he said, no, I'm locked in, I'm there. And they said, well,
paperwork sorted.
So, he's got 2 years and then the next 3 are on options, right? And they said, the option's out. He said, as long as the club does right by me and my family. And he said that a couple of times, but he wouldn't go into detail about what it meant. And
so he said that a couple of times, has he?
Yeah, he reiterated the point.
That's interesting.
He obviously wanted to say. And okay, so
if he said it once, it just seems like I get that. He's been around for long enough where things can change really quickly and you're not going to be stuck. Like, look at Tom Trbojevic right now. Because he's openly been so loyal to Manly, he gets shit on him if he even thinks about leaving. Yeah. But they're treating him so poorly. But he said it a couple of times. That is interesting.
Which is interesting. But could have meant that, hey, you look at Mitchell Moses, he had those clauses removed for a price. So he got a bump up, which took him up alongside Nathan Cleary as the game's top earner. So is there a financial incentive to do that, to take those out? And, if he's foregoing the
option,
security of an exit, no offence, Hammy, then is it worth my while?
You know what?
I'm not sure.
When you think about it, he's probably right. You should be getting paid to remove those clauses because... And obviously, I get the idea from a Tigers fan. You're like, we're already paying him 1.2 million. I get all that. But, it's not really a fair exchange if he just walks in and says, yeah, get rid of my clauses, because that's what the deal was. He's not doing anything wrong.
Yep.
Simple negotiation.
Because, my immediate reaction to, him getting paid for those clauses is like, oh, come on, bro. But when I think about it a little bit more, I'm like, well, it is a negotiation. It is an exchange of value. The value in having options is you could argue it's worth, the negotiation leverage he has with those options is almost infinitely more than what you do if you don't have it. Okay, interesting. Look, at least it doesn't seem like there's any dramas on it. I think at least it sounds like.
And that's it. And that's, but I think everyone's pretty nervous around November 1 because it's just, as you said, so unprecedented. If I'm the Warriors, I'm really keen on... My number one re-signing priority is Tane Tuapiki. He was the player of the final series in New South Wales Cup, stamped himself as a first grader. They've re-signed Metcalf. He's got to be the next one. But all of a sudden, you've got another team coming in.
Sucks, man.
And it's
especially
hard.
Guys like Tuapiki, yes, it would surprise some people, but if Perth gave him 600-700K, I wouldn't be that surprised. He's already proven he's a pretty good first grader. You know what I mean? Whereas, there's no way the Warriors can offer him 600-700K right now.
Well, and he's 26 years old. So if he takes the money at this point in his career, it's pretty reasonable. He's a bit of a late bloomer.
And he's been patient, really. He's a bloody good bloody good player. Oh, man, I cannot wait. What are your thoughts, just before we finish this? And, guys, go to codesports.com.au/bloke. Just go to Code Sports in general. There's the depth of information in regards to trade you will not get anywhere else. When I watch the AFL and I see all the drama around the trade week, it's so entertaining. It's so good to watch. However, with League, because we're so willy-nilly, we can talk about trades literally every day. And granted, I'm sure AFL kind of do to a degree. What's your thoughts on the trade window?
Seeing the amount of interest at that time, it is just something that everyone. It's
blokes reality TV. That's what it is.
Yeah, if you've got withdrawals from league season, if we're post grand final, Pacific champs, whatever end of season, and you're going, oh God, I miss my footy, and you had that week, you go nuts. But I love the idea of talking about it 24/7, 365, and but something we're looking into at the moment is rules that the NRL's looking to put in place now that would further prevent clubs from even discussing being interested in players. So,
no.
Yeah, but doesn't stop us from discussing it here,
True.
but it's going to be, but
and it's almost a bit silly, as if they're not going to talk. They'll just talk through third parties.
Oh, of course. Well, imagine someone who's maybe a player agent who also has a TV gig, and where does your hat come on and off for different
those.
things? Yeah. So it's interesting, right? But I same with draft. The whole idea of let's get a draft in. Number one, a rookie draft would never work because you could not unpick the rich tapestry that is pathways in rugby league.
Mate.
At least in the AFL, you have that differentiation between AFL, VFL, so you can do it. As far as a free agent draft, I think that's been tried. And
the only thing I was thinking, and this is very, just shooting the shit kind of thinking, but if the NRL got rich enough where they take over the development of the players, kind of a little bit like the F1. I think the F1, the drivers train together for a period, then they go to their teams after they're selected.
Yeah, there's Formula 2 and Formula 3 below that.
And I just wonder, if there's a way around the draft or whatever, or the juniors argument is the NRL pays for the development, or at the very least, here's your funding for development. You can continue to develop the way you want to, but we'll fund it so it's all equal playing field potentially. Again, I'm sure you could punch a bunch of holes through that, but is that the direction?
How do you centralise it? I know where you're headed because that's what will essentially have to happen for this to work. Because I think Wayne Bennett said in the past that I think we're the only the competition in the world that doesn't have a draft attached to a salary cap. So how do you regenerate?
Yeah.
How do you in lieu of that? So it's so hard, right?
Yeah.
And clubs are in different areas all around. They're encroaching on each other's territories. They're doing deals with schools. They're doing, clubs are sending players to private rugby schools, right? Because there's the GPS schools. They're not feeding. Their mission isn't to feed the Waratahs and the Reds and the Brumbies. Their mission is to win, and so where they go after that. So, and given the league's the dominant sport, hey, let's do it through there.
I will say it's a fascinating debate. We could go into it a lot, but you look at the NRL ladder this year, where you had Newcastle at the bottom, Gold Coast just above that. Those are two of the major junior bases in the competition. You then look at a club like Melbourne, who have very little juniors. My Roosters have very little juniors. So in some respects, if it was all standardized, you're kind of taking from the teams that are already a bit at the bottom and giving to the teams that are already a bit at the top.
Because it's the systems that, I've always had that argument with mates of like, the Broncos have this huge catchment area. They should just be the best team every single year. But it's like, that's why the salary caps have been introduced, is to take away the advantage of the numbers. And all you got to do is look to the Melbourne Storm and the Roosters. Now, don't get me wrong, having the good juniors helps, but it's the systems that make clubs good, not the numbers of players they have.
That's exactly the point, because although there's not a lot of local juniors in that Bondi area, your pathways, you've really done some work on the pathway through the Central Coast and talent IDing, the Va'a twins, and like that. And you look at Melbourne, they've focused on that south area of Melbourne, where a big Polynesian community now, where they're bringing a lot through. So when they're going really well in Jersey Flegg, that should worry the rest of the competition. But they went out a couple of years ago and recruited a heap of young talent from other areas.
And didn't they win? They win one of the juniors this year, didn't they?
Yeah.
Wow.
So they've actually looking at their pathway systems that way. So, and getting back to the point around the draft, you then have to unpick all that. And to your point, Leaguie, about the Gold Coast area as a nursery, it falls on the Titans there to get their house in order. My God, look at that junior nursery of talent. Why does every kid on the Gold Coast not want to be a Titan? Well, you can stay locally, play for your local team. Where's this culture built up?
Well, when I was coming through, I'm from the Gold Coast, and I think I might have met them once, but there was, to my understanding, unless my manager didn't tell me, there was no interest from the Gold Coast Titans. And I look back on it now, I'm like, okay, you got this young guy, hasn't played footy really, but the Broncos are super keen on him. Even just on that alone, you have a chat to him and go, mate, we want you. And I know they're a new club, and I'm not a fucking gun compared to other people. I'm just saying, as an example of how it all kind of works. It's another really good example is so the Broncos were super dominant early 2000s. Guess who their recruitment officer was? It's the same recruitment officer as the Melbourne Storm have had for the last 20 years, Paul Bunn, who was taught by Cyril Connor, one of the greatest recruiters you could. Cyril Connor is responsible for essentially all of the Broncos' early dominance, and he taught Paul Bunn. I'm pretty sure Paul Bunn was under him. He left the Broncos, went to Storm, and they've had all that dominance. So this. And it's not just one guy, but we'll reduce it to its most simple kind of discussion point. But one guy with all the access to all this talent and all these resources changes clubs, and this club falls and this club rises. It shows you that it's not numbers, it's systems that matter.
Yeah, and mate, you make such a good point, because there's some people pretty high up in league who have told me that they don't think that it's a lack of playing talent that's an issue with expansion. It's footy now. So it's football department expertise. And guys like Paul Bunn, who take his expertise down to Melbourne and then employ guys to do the work down there. Guys like Tim Glasby, who was doing stuff up on the Sunshine Coast and developing those systems there. 100% spot on, because you see, every kid, and the Broncos, when they came in, they had the run of the joint, and then every time you win a Man of the Match award on the Gold Coast or in the Brisbane comp, they bring you, here you go, here's some Broncos paraphernalia, hey, and all you want to do is be a Bronco. I know things are different these days, but you've got to look after your local areas.
Yeah, you can speak out all day, mate. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. We'll speak more trades later in the show. We'll get to the reviews, guys, but it's all brought to you by Code Sports. A massive thank you, as always, to Code Sports for partnering with the show. They're the reason we can do what we do, guys. Go to codesports.com.au/bloke. Use code bloke for your discount. And thanks, Mopsy, for joining us, mate. Appreciate it.
Boys. Have a good week.
And also, guys, do not forget to like and subscribe. And also, a massive shout out to Lontel, guys. Look, my gamers, Outer Worlds 2 is out this week. Battlefield 6 has been absolutely outstanding. Ark Raiders was incredible. The beta, obviously, Ghost of Ghost. There are so many. We are getting to the golden part of the year when it comes to gaming. Lontel is the best internet in the world, in my opinion anyway. Lontel.net.au/bloke. Use code bloke. First 7 days, it is a free trial. Then after that, you get about $25 credit. And when I say $25 credit, you go, what does that really mean? With Lontel, you pay per day. Like, as in, you don't have to pay every single day, but you pay what you use. So you know, like sometimes, let's say you sign up to a contract, it's a 2-year contract, and each month you pay $100 or whatever. But let's say you only use the internet like 3 days of that month. You're away somewhere else. The good thing about Lontel is you don't pay for things you don't use. You can I'm going to go away traveling for 2 weeks, pause your internet, you don't pay for it. Or you can go, okay, I want the normal speeds, you pay for that a certain amount. Okay, I want to crank it up to the fastest speeds that you've seen me do. So I've downloaded 75 gig on my Instagram in like 4 minutes. If you want those crazy speeds, you crank it up for a day when you're downloading games or whatever. And then once you're done, you only pay for how the fastest or the highest price for the fastest speed for the time you used it. So let's say you've downloaded your game, you're done, you don't need to be fast anymore, you turn it back down and you only pay those prices. Lontel.net.au/bloke. The internet of the future, guys. The internet of the future. A massive thank you to Lontel for getting around the show. Okay, let's get into it, shall we? It's time for the Hungriest Player, brought to you by Menulog. And the Hungriest Player this week, it's the big fella. It is Junior Paulo. He is our hungriest player. Use code Paulo for free delivery, PAULO. And our local shout-out goes to Downtown Pizzeria in Albury, serving the freshest wood-fire pizza in its area. Love me. I'm just making me hungry thinking about pizza. It's Junior Paulo. And I think, watching on the weekend or yesterday, the week before against the Kiwis, he probably didn't have his best game. Well, he didn't have his best game. And even this year, I thought he was good for most of the year, but for the last year or two, he probably hasn't been the Junior Paulo that we know. Origin, one of the best forwards in the comp, played for Australia, played for New South Wales. I cannot believe how good he was yesterday. Like, that was peak Junior Paulo, reminding people that, we've got ball-playing forwards at the moment, but Junior Paulo was one of the, I'm not going to say first, but a unique front rower that when you looked at him, you thought he's a bash and crash front rower that gets through work. And then every now and then he'd throw a cutout pass to his winger or something and they'd score a try. On the weekend, we saw it all. We saw big hits. We saw the tough stuff. We saw tip-ons to Payne Haas for his try. He truly had a captain's knock. Incredible performance by Junior Paulo, brought to you by Menulog. What are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, well, you can talk about all the things you did on field, and there's so many of them, but just what a leader he is. There was one moment with 10 minutes left to go in the game. They're literally winning 28-0. They forced an error, and Paulo is just screaming in celebration. Literally, game is done, but he was so up and about for it. You look at like the Sipitao. Actually, I think it's the Sivitao that they do Samoa. He leads that. He's screaming. It's just so inspirational to see.
Yeah, it's so good. I tell you what, inversely proportional to how scary he looks, he couldn't be nicer. Like, bro looks scary as shit, but he's actually one of the best blokes. And look, he can be scary and a good bloke, but he is truly a gentle giant. Can throw him too. Can throw him. Great boxer. Mate, what do you think of Junior Paulo's performance?
Outstanding. The way he led the pre-game stuff was unbelievable, as you kind of just touched on. But, got to talk about the Sonny Luke shot. Like, I felt that one, down here in Sydney on the couch. I was like, wow. That was a hell of a shot, that one. But, he's had a good year, but I feel like he's gone to another level, kind of like, with the opportunity to lead this team. Obviously, clearly it means a lot to a lot of these guys who have, particularly the ones that have kind of represented Australia or what have you, and kind of gone, no, I'm going to go and play for Samoa now. He typifies that. I thought he was unreal on the weekend, and just there was several big hits, but particularly that one. Like, they'll clip that up and they'll be showing that for years.
And the footwork for a guy that's 120 kilos to make that hit, it's not like Sonny Luke was, running it off the back fence. Like, he was stepping. Yep. He still made that. That is just crazy footwork.
I love the reaction of Payne Haas on the sideline.
Big fella, he liked it.
Yeah.
He liked it.
He was a fan.
I will say, like, if you came out and said, the front rower, because he's essentially front rower, had 2 try involvements, you'd be like, you wouldn't believe it. But he actually threw the big cutout ball for their first try. And I know he wasn't the last pass, but it was his pass that made the distance to give him that space on the edge. And then just was it Terrell May that offloaded to him, then he tips onto Payne Haas. Like, front rowers shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff. It's just so good. So absolutely stoked for him. And I tell you what, Samoa, look, they're looking outstanding. They really are. They are looking like a real threat, genuine chance to win the Pacific Chance. So we'll get more into that in a little bit. But Junior Paulo, he is our hungriest player, brought to you by Menulog. A massive thank you as always to Menulog. If you're going to get food to the house, use Menulog. They have helped support us for years now, guys, so get around them. Support people that support us. Okay, let's get into the next big segment. It is the Kayo can't miss moment. Now, we're going to speak about Nanai's 2 tries. But I just wanted to start this segment by speaking specifically about what we owe the Samoan, Tongan, and the Pacific nations now. 1 or 2 years they can come out in droves and we can go, okay, that's rugby league, they're supporting their nation. But I think we've crossed the line of the Pacific nations fans have shown up and put their money in their mouth, put their money where their mouth was for years now, where we owe it as a game to go, okay, we've got something special here where we need to really ramp up the resources we put in it. And look, I'll be honest, I've been guilty of this for many years where I've looked at the Pacific Games as an add-on to the season. Like I've got NRL, I've got Origin, and I've even got the Kangaroos stuff, and that's rugby league in my head. And I'm just being honest. Whereas I think as a game, we need to get past that mentality of thinking the Pacific champs or the Pacific nations are an add-on to the game. And I'm past that moment now. And the only reason I'm saying that is because I feel like there's probably a lot of other Aussies, if you ask them that, and at the end of the day, Aussies make up the majority of fans of the rugby league. They probably think about it like that too. And I even think the NRL probably think about it like that too. I think we need to start thinking of the game. Look, they've already put a lot of resources into it. The last CBA agreement, the players took a massive pay cut to spread the funds out more, which is great. So they're already on the right track. But it's the mentality around it where when we build the schedule, it doesn't have to be next year or the year, as soon as we can, but it doesn't have to be immediately. When we build the schedule, I'm not going to pretend like the Pacific Nation Games yet are equal to Origin or equal to in season because they don't generate near revenue. However, we need to start giving them the platform to one day be equal to, in my opinion. League, I'd love to get your thoughts.
100%. Yeah, my most recent YouTube video spoke about the international game, and just the phrase in particular, one that I mentioned was post-season internationals, is what we call it. It's not post-season. The rugby league season is still going. But yeah, I mean, those who are familiar with me will know Tonga versus Samoa is literally my favorite fixture in rugby league. You talk about the flags, but also the dances beforehand, the hymns that sing out. Like, it's so unique, so marketable, and that is the kind of stuff that genuinely has the potential to go globally viral.
Yeah. We saw the World Cup with Samoa.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly that. So it's something absolutely we should be leaning into more, in my opinion.
And like, even if, let's say you're not a believer just yet, put it like this. Imagine a different sport where their population was like 200,000. We'll just say 200 because that's a low population amount. And the game that they went to, about 45,000 people were there, but then you also go to the Logan and all the turnouts. 40,000, let's say you add Samoa and Tonga together, I think they got relatively low populations. 40,000 out of that percentage is like...
It's 10%.
It's like 10%. If you had 10% of Australians going to a game, you'd be looking at like, what, 2 million, 2.8 million or something like that? That's, when you put it in that context, that this high of a ratio is supporting the game of their whole population, that's insane. Like if you came to me and said that 2.8 million Australians want to turn out to Australia versus someone, we'd be all going, write the check. And granted, I understand it's a bigger number, so obviously it would need more money. But I'm just saying that's the weight that the Samoan Tongans, that's essentially like a tenth of their country is rocking up to these games. Yeah. It's crazy.
Well, and I can't claim to have a solution to this off the top of my head, but this is the first time these two sides played in 3 years.
Crazy.
That's a chronic failure of the international calendar, that we're not getting this. I reckon at least once a year. This could be an Origin-like rivalry, in my opinion, in a few years' time. So
And like, I understand revenue-wise, it's going to take a very long time for a game to generate as much revenue. But when you're talking purely like the reasons why Origin is great, Samoa and Tonga have every reason to why they could be great in a rivalry. They've actually got real history of wars against each other. So, what makes Queensland versus New South Wales so great is the history. That pales in comparison to two nations that actually used to friggin' go to war together. Now, obviously, things have changed, but I'm just talking about what makes Origin great is the history. It's all the stories from why each state dislikes each other or whatever. Samoa and Tonga have that in droves. And I'm sure there's history with Fiji and everything as well. So, I just think it's time to... The fact that they haven't played each other in 3 years, in my opinion, shows that we still think it as an add-on. It's an afterthought. Oh, okay, we'll do that. Whereas when you look at the numbers of Polynesian players in the game and you look at the changing demographics or whatever... And look, I'm not asking for these games to replace anything at all. I'm not sitting here going, oh, it's going to be... I'll always have Origin as the pinnacle for me. That's just as a Queenslander. But... I'm a Queenslander. If I was Samoa or from Samoa or Tonga, that would be my origin or whatever. So I just think that the fans deserve massive credit. The scenes over the last week, the turnout for Samoa and Logan, the turnout for Tonga as well. Like we need to. There's a spark of something great here. We need to fan the flames, in my opinion. Hammy, what are your thoughts, mate?
No, I completely agree. I went last year when Australia played Tonga in the final of the Pacific Champs, and just the atmosphere and stuff there was unbelievable. Again, the hymns, all that sort of stuff. Like, these two nations love their rugby league, and it was great to see such a full stadium up there as well. Like, big stadium, Suncorp. We've got like 45,000 people there, in the end of October.
And also like on a Sunday arvo as well. So bloody school night, mate.
Correct, school night as well. But it was, it is getting to that point now where, the quality of footy now is so good as well. You've got so many big names now that are playing for these sides as well. It's, it's one of those ones that, it's adding some real value to this time of the year on the rugby league calendar, which, we were speaking with Mobsy before about things like, the AFL have the trade period, and that's basically to keep the game in the news when the season's done. Like, you're basically extending the season by a month, and if you can keep the quality games and the rivalries as big as they can be, and this is definitely a key ingredient of that, that's only going to be a good thing for footy. And
like two signs for me personally anyway, and I'm just being honest, like 10 years ago, these... Like, if it was a Pacific chance, honestly, it didn't really excite me. I Samoa Tonga would because I like history and I like hearing about it. But, okay, it's on. Awesome opportunity for the Polynesian people. Now, just as an Aussie, I'm like, I can't wait. Like, I genuinely am looking forward to the Pacific Championships. I'm genuinely tuning in. I want to see who wins.
You get it in Australia, but also beyond our shores as we're looking to expand. I'm sure get into global round later.
Yep.
It's not really much use bringing a Canterbury Bankstown versus Manly Warringah over in Miami. But Americans might know Samoa or Fiji or England, New Zealand. These are the marketable things that we have. We need to lean into that so much more, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you. I am with you. Now, in regards to the Kayo can't miss moment, we can't miss this opportunity for one. That just came off the dome, boys. I didn't even think of that. So
very clever.
Yeah. That's why I do what I do.
That's why you're the best in the business.
Okay, but it was a nice 2 tries. I feel like this season, because Eli Katoa was doing things that were so special, the catching of the bombs and the tries, and Dally M back row, the best back row all year long. Nanai's incredible attacking ability kind of got lost in the noise a little bit. Like, I think sometimes you can forget players' potential sometimes when another player is doing similar-ish stuff. And then Nanai comes out and does that on Eli Katoa. It is just crazy what this kid can do at 22 years old. I think he is still, which is, I feel like he's been around forever. I think he's 22 or 23 max. Those 2 tries for most players are tries of the year individually. Like when most players play, if they score one of those tries, if they're recounting their career 10 years later, that's a try that they'll be asked about. The try where, you caught it with one hand, tapped it back in, you score it, and you were challenging. The player you did it against was Katoa, who had made a reputation for being good under the high ball. So that first one. Then the second one, a guy as big as Nanai, in and away onto the toe. Like, there are 6s and 7s that can't do that well.
Yep.
Just like, seriously, the talent Nanai has, if he can just bring that attitude week in, week out, he will win Dally M back row of the year. He will be one of the best back rowers in the competition. And it wasn't just his attack, it was his defence. His hit on Cooler at the start, they're the hits that hurt the most. The ones where, like, don't get me wrong, the Sonny Luke one was entertaining, big, they don't hurt at all because your body takes the force as you move back. The ones where the contact and both people don't move, they kill, and you get like your head lashes forward and back, they kill. So it was that shot, but also, and people, Cowboys fans, you'll know what I'm talking about. Like, Nanai, the biggest weakness at the moment is defence. Like, sometimes in some games, you're just like, is he even thinking right now? Like, he just missed. There was a period where it got called back, so it won't be spoken about much. There was a period where Katoa made a break down the sideline right towards the try line. And Katoa setting the Nanai up was like, you could see it was coming from a mile away, a right foot step. We're talking about Katoa, the winger Katoa. His right foot step is like unbelievable. And Nanai, one-on-one on his try line, tackled him and dragged him to the ground and wrapped the ball up. I cannot express to you, put it this way, if an outside back has a 10-metre drill against a forward, he should score essentially 10 times. 10 times. So much so, I've told the story a million times, so I'll be quick. I remember I got pulled back after his training session. Wayne Bennett called me back, and he was like, "Hey, Kempy, come here. I need to do some tackling with Shane Webke. He needs to get through some tackles." So my initial thought was, we're doing a 10-metre drill. So I'm sitting there going, like, even though it's Shane Webke, This is my bread and butter. I'm not going to get touched. Then Webke walked past me and said, if you step, I'm going to fucking kill you. So I didn't step and I got jammed for 10 minutes. But that's just an example of Webke, obviously, greatest forward all time. The outside back should always beat forwards in a one-on-one 10-metre drill. Nanai, in a 10-metre drill on the field, one-on-one tackle, takes Katoa down in an area where defence has been his issue for a while. It was a special performance from Nanai.
Yeah, it's insane. He is 22. I've just looked it up and confirmed it. I would have guessed older. He's been around for so long.
22, bro.
84 first grade games, only 22 years. He's played freaking 8 Origins. But you're completely right in bringing up his defense. And I was going to mention that because the stats show 27 tackles made, 1 miss.
Wow.
So he was doing it on both sides of the ball. And I mean, I've heard for years you guys talk about his defense on here and how, yeah, he was a little bit more of a one-sided player. If he can bring that every week, as you say, Jesus. I mean, the Cowboys have got a star on their hands.
Mate, that in and away kick, like, there are truly not, like, in the percentage of people that have played the game, maybe 5%, I'll say 10% of players could do that. Like, that was unbelievable, like truly unbelievable.
And they had at that point, if I remember correctly, it was like a 4-on-2 situation. I was thinking, pass to To'o, cut out right now. He goes himself, he backs himself, and he does it.
Crazy,
it's brilliant.
Bro. So good.
Yeah, the gather on that as well was not an easy one. Like, to get it back in and get it down, and it looked a little bit clunky when it went up. I was like, oh, they might check this and it might be no try, but to get it at that speed with a couple of bodies around him as well, very impressive.
Very, very special. Even his try where he caught it over Eli Katoa, he bumped Adam Fanua-Blake. Like, that's Eli Katoa, Adam Fanua-Blake. We're talking about 2 players that won that Dally M players. So, yeah, incredible. So, he's our Kayo can't miss moment. And also, our Kayo can't miss moment. We can't miss this opportunity with the Pacific nations. And as I said, I know the NRL are already looking to do things, but I feel like this is the nail in the coffin. Like, the ship has sailed on whether we should or shouldn't put more resources into the Pacific game, in my opinion. It's a no-brainer. Yes, I understand there are massive challenges. I understand that it's, the first few years, maybe there is a bit of a loss in revenue. I get all that. But just the long-term opportunity we have here to then expand in the Pacific, just generally,
Yep.
It changes the game.
What I will say is that this does kind of come around every year in the cycle. We get to the internationals, we all speak like this, and then as soon as the NRL trials are on, we're just talking about NRL. So hopefully this year it's different, but there always does seem to be a media shift.
Well, put it this way, I would love Samoa and Tonga and these other games, Fiji, PNG, all that kind of stuff, to get to the point where what we do with Origin, it's friggin' January and we're already talking about, who's going to play 7 for New South Wales? Who's going to play, how is New South Wales going to shit the bed this year? That's usually what we're talking about. Is that what we're talking about, Matty, in January?
Probably. We talk about it all year long.
Yeah.
I got an idea, and I'm strong on this. They got to bring back, and this doesn't have anything to do with Samoa Tonga initially, but then it does. I wanted to bring back the Anzac Test because that was my favourite game of the year almost. I don't know why they got rid of it, but bring that back. There's 27 rounds. Just get rid of one of them for the new broadcast deal. But then put Samoa Tonga on that same weekend and then literally have that forever. And then they play for that trophy. They don't call it the Anzac Trophy. Obviously, they call it something else, but they play for that trophy forever. And that's how you start something. And then I think that's how they should do it.
That's a good point. And also, maybe they have already got a name for a trophy, but I'm sure that Samoa and Tonga could put forward a famous person or, whatever to name the trophy after that's theirs. That's not passed on to them like, oh, you have this from the NRL. It's like, no, this is your trophy. It's not like again, it's the mentality I think we need to change that you're kind of alluding to too. Like, we need to change this mentality of oh, cool, Pacific Nations on 2. Man, who's going to get selected for Samoa here, Tonga here? Anyway, so that's a Kayo can't miss, guys. Watch every game live on Kayo. Australia looking to go 2-0 up against England, so make sure to watch that. And also the summer of cricket continues as Australia face India in 5 unmissable T20s starting this week. So hopefully we see a few drives that cover. The only place to watch the T20 series, watch it like pumpkins, is in Fox Cricket, available on Kayo Sports. The NBA, and also with Kayo, they have just partnered with the Grade Cricketer, and there's Grade Cricket content on Kayo right now that you can go and watch. So the second biggest cricketing personalities out behind myself, obviously. And also the NBA season is back with new stars, new battles, and new moments you won't want to miss. So watch the NBA live on ESPN, available on Kayo. Alrighty, let's get into the Kangaroos versus England. Kangaroos defeat England 26-6. I'll speak about the game and then I'll get into my thoughts on the England situation. But in regards to the game, clunky, all that stuff. But I just think that when Reece Walsh clicked into gear, he is truly becoming a player that, you know, how you used to like, you knew you were exaggerating to your mates and you were like, oh, he can win you the game. But you knew deep down, you're like, it takes a team to win the game. And granted, it does take a team to win the game. But Reece Walsh is truly getting into rarefied air where literally he decides who wins the match. That's how good he is playing. And some of his passing, I know there was a couple that went out or whatever, but I think that's the price you pay for a Reece Walsh. If you want to see this crazy, incredible football he's playing, that's the price you pay. The service that he had this week was absolutely outstanding. He was my star of the game, but there's a few others. But look, a good solid win from Australia. My concern is, and we'll get to some details soon, my concern is though, that's them at like 5 out of 10. What's the score going to be at like 8 out of 10? That's my concern.
Yeah, I do want to say a special thank you to everyone who bombarded my inbox with messages after what I said last week.
Who could have seen that coming?
Yeah. Now, here's the thing, though. For those in the audience who don't know, I'm a law student, and actually, I remember first lecture, first year, the lecturer sits us down and says, "Boys and girls, if there's one golden law you need to know, it's that last try wins."
Oh, lawyer speak.
Saying.
Don't come down here with your lawyer degree acting all smart and shit.
But no, look,
I thought you were going to talk about like defamation or something.
Like death threats like are illegal and shit. Last try, he's gone the last try wins route. That's
a real moral victory.
Yeah, very English on you.
English, aren't you?
You're actually an undercover agent for England right now.
No, I did put that up on Instagram and it didn't go down too well afterwards. I'm inviting it on me now.
Real weenie chat, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, Australia wins. He just got pounded for 80 minutes.
Yep.
In regards to the game, though, like thoughts on the game as a whole, and then we'll start getting into details.
Yeah, look, it was bitterly disappointing, to be honest, as a fan of the international game. I thought England would show a lot more ticker than they did. Granted, they are better than what they showed, but you're only as good as your last performance, realistically. And I think we saw a real golfing quality between the Poms and the Aussies. Both sides were a little bit scrappy, but really when Australia turned it on, they really turned it on. And completing at only 69%, the Kangaroos, like there were a lot more points out there if they'd wanted it. So it could have been even worse.
What do you think of the match, mate?
Yeah, agree. Clunky. And the completion rates, having a look here. Well, even here it's England 72%, Australia 66% it even says here. But what it just showed to me, obviously, even though it was scrappy, 8-0 at half time, like Australia's got more weapons. England don't have many weapons. They've got like Herbie, for me, that can probably hurt you.
Yep. Can't
do it on your own though. Like Australia's just got probably the most dangerous player in the world at the moment with Reece Walsh, and he had 3 or 4 moments there. Had a couple more that got called back that could have been, a couple of more tries. But, Australia just had a few more guys who, when the chips were down and it was just a bit scrappy and someone had to just, run the footy or make something happen, they had more options there. Yeah. And I think that was the difference in the end.
Yeah, and speaking of Reece Walsh, he is our Aspley Mazda Service of the Week, brought to you by Aspley Mazda. Massive shout out to Leaguie as well, who was on the show last week. Absolute legend. Give him a follow, LDC_01. I just can't remember a time, like we've seen guys go on form runs where their running game is incredible, their 3-2 is good or whatever. I can't remember a time where a player has thrown passes that are like career-defining passes for most people. He's doing it 2 or 3 times a game. Like even the try that got pulled back where he just flicked it out the back. Yeah. Like that's a career play for most people.
I wondered whether the video ref might have had the sense of occasion to just be like, yeah, that's fine. Because that's going to get replayed till the cows come home if that's a try. Got called back because of the interference with Addo Carr. But that was like a triple cutout pass, flick pass around the back, straight to Crichton, straight over. Unbelievable.
Like these are stuff that you see once or twice in a career. He's doing it like multiple times a game. Like even Benji, he's over his career, what do you reckon, like 4 or 5 highlight flicks? Obviously grand final, probably the greatest flick pass in the history of the game. Yep. Got one against the Sharkies, a couple of no-lookers or whatever.
One against the Eels there.
Yeah, whereas I think with Walsh, by the end of his career, if he keeps this up, and granted the key for Marshall, he did it over his whole career, he might have like 30 of them by the end of his career.
Yeah. No, it's insane. I mean, I was saying to Matty earlier off air, how insane is it that Tedesco literally won the Dally M by 22 points this year, and no one is going to remember this for being Tedesco's season. It's so true. Season.
It's so true.
I do want to give a shout out to the NRL physio. He put a post up last night highlighting the fact that Walsh is doing this after rupturing his PCL earlier this year, which apparently is an injury known to limit mobility in particular. The fact that Walsh is doing this with that injury, it's mental.
And it's a great point in regards to Walsh's injury because, he often gets, he's a pretty boy and he's a prima, all that kind of stuff. He is tough. There are players, Taylor May broke his jaw in the Panthers, not intentionally, but broke his jaw. He got flatlined by Leaguie. A lot of players, that's career changing. Like that kind of knockout, especially if you're a player that is taking the ball in two hands to the line, and I think it did take Walshy a while to get that confidence.
I reckon it took him like 12 months, to be honest with you.
But a lot of players never come back.
Yeah.
Like they're never the same after a broken jaw, after being completely flatlined. The mental fortitude to push through that feeling, it's almost second to none. Like, yeah, we've got a lot of tough people in the game, but they get the credit for being tough. Walshy very rarely, at least to the wider audience, I know a lot of people that analyse the game call him tough. That is, to be able to come back from those, like, not only did you get flatlined by League, you then broke your jaw. Or was it before? Sorry, it was vice versa? Might have been. Anyway.
Swiley was second.
Second. So you broke your jaw, then you got flatlined. Like, that's mental toughness. That is mental toughness, in my opinion. Matty, what do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, I'm not like joking when I say this. Like, this isn't a laughing thing, but I was talking to Guru about Reece Walsh yesterday morning, and the first thing he brought up was Origin next year and how like frightening it actually is. Because if you cast your mind back to Origin 3, he wasn't picked because I think Ponga was out or whatever it was. Hammer came back in. And no one really batted an eyelid. I didn't bat an eyelid. No one really batted an eyelid. Everyone thought it was the right call.
Well, Brimo was probably ahead of him too, unless he pledged for
100%.
Can't even get a game.
Can't even get a game for him.
That will hey, we'll get into that.
That was 4 months ago. And as you just said, Leaguie, like, this is the year of Reece Walsh. It's crazy to think what he's done in that short amount of time. But then, obviously he's got to keep this form up. But then you look to next year, he's got Dally M written all over him. He's got Origin Boy Lewis Medal written all over him. It's frightening for the rest of the competition, but bloody hell, it is frightening for Origin next year because this was his test debut. This was his test debut in Wembley, and he absolutely carved them up.
You're right. Like, he played so good, I didn't think it was his debut. Mm-hmm. I didn't think it was his debut. That's how good he played. What is super interesting for me as an Australian, as an Aussie fan of Australia, obviously, this is the first time in a very long time we've had a fullback that actually creates opportunities with his ball playing. Like, Teddy, very much a running fullback. Edwards, very much a running fullback. Billy Slater got to the point where he was good at ball playing, but obviously not on Reece Walsh's level in regards to specifically ball playing.
But that was 8 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like that's the last time. So very interesting. There's been a bit of, I guess, with our halves playing for Australia, it's been polarising. Like, some people think our halves haven't been good enough recently. Even when we win a World Cup, there's not a lot to say about our halves. I'm super interested to see now that we've got halves that have a weapon in Reece Walsh, where their job is purely just get Reece Walsh space. That's all their job is. I'm super interested to see what the next few years look like. And what's bizarre with Walsh is, like, I keep waiting for that Barry Crocker to come. Like, I keep waiting for every pass to go over the sideline and go, okay, that's the price you pay for greatness that we're seeing. It hasn't happened yet. I know it will happen eventually because if this keeps, like, honestly, if he keeps playing like this, he'll be the greatest freaking player we've ever seen. Now, I don't think that's going to happen because it's just like, I mean, I hope it happens for sure. I hope it happens. But, like, that is, if he keeps playing like this, he'll win Dally M every single year.
So I think with Walsh now, like, he obviously has had barriers and he probably will have barriers in the future, as you said.
Surely.
But his barriers are turning into more little moments now. Like, he started the game on the weekend pretty poorly. He threw one, I think it was a forward pass, he threw in a rosette. But then he just forgets about it. Guru says it all the time. He's like golf, he just forgets about it. So he still has bad moments, but then he just forgets about it and turns it into something much, much better.
And you know what's crazy? We haven't even spoken about his defence yet.
Yeah.
He saved 2 tries again with these, like, I'm telling you right now, it is fullback lessons 101. Take the man with the ball. Every fullback is told, don't go for intercepts, don't try and knock the ball down because the chances of you getting that ball are so slim. But Reece Walsh is a level above conservative direction. Like, he's a level above what you're supposed to do. He does what he wants to do. 2 try savers, 2 strike with the same thing that he did in the grand final. Like, his try saver won a premiership only 3 weeks ago. And he does it again. So, yeah, Reece Walsh, he is our service. Although he's passing. That one where he hit Nwanga Nituwase and it, like, floated in front of the centre and Nwanga Nituwase hit it at full speed. Like, the timing of that shit is so hard to do. Yeah. And I think that the one thing I would say is, like, what is different about Reece Walsh? In my opinion, and guys, there's way more people that know more about footy than me. The difference with Reece Walsh is he can pass at full speed. If you actually go and watch, and we always talk about, like, a Cody Walker or Latrell Mitchell, how they're so good at squaring defences up, but oftentimes they're almost walking. Like they're jogging into the line, but they're so good at keeping a defence square that's how they create numbers. What makes Reece Walsh so unique, and actually Luke Keary used to be really good at it. He would hit the ball like at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And that's what I think Reece Walsh is unique ability that he does better than maybe anyone that's played the game, is he can throw a 15-metre cut-out ball whilst being at full pace. That's not normal. You can't do that usually.
Yeah. And that's what brings the outside backs into the game, which, as you said, former Kangaroos fullbacks weren't really able to ball play in that same way. But look at what Nwangani Tuase did with his line breaks. Addo Carr had a pretty solid game.
Yep.
It just brings everyone into it. And the fact that this dude is 23, like with modern sports science, like you look at Tedesco, he's what, 32. Edwards is, late 20s. He could be a long, long way away from his peak.
It's so impressive. And yeah, the speed with the ball too. The reason why it is so important is like the faster you are with the ball, the less time the defense has to make decisions. And then as the time gets less, stress comes higher, you're more likely to make the wrong decision. That's why everyone probably watch Walsh and they're going, why are these defenders making the wrong call, jamming in or sliding out when they shouldn't? It's because they don't have time to think and they don't have time to implement the systems that they want to implement. But the thing is I'm sure there are some people that know footy right now and go, okay, easy solve, jam in. Tell Howarth that. Tell Howarth about jamming in. Tell Casey McLean and the Penrith Panthers when the game was on the line about jamming in. He stepped in, bumped a few blokes and then passed over the top. That's what's making him special, is like the defensive systems that for, at least decades have basically not nullified but reduced that. They don't work with Walshy because he's so good on both. So, yeah, anyway, that's Aspley Mazda Service of the Week, also known as Glaze of the Week, because we just glazed the hell out of that man. Apparently, by all reports, he is a rock star over there. Did you see Kevin Walters on his podcast tell the story of Isla Fisher, Hollywood actor, recognised Reece Walsh and was like, hey, Walshy, what are you doing here? That's how big this bloke is getting.
Well, Bon Jovi even popped down say good day to him.
Yep, exactly. Bon Jovi. He ran into little TJ, who was a rapper / melodic singer. I think that's what his technical term would be.
I saw Rugby League Guru was there as well. Pretty big.
Yeah, huge name. Couldn't walk 10 metres without getting stopped.
Yeah.
But, we're dealing with a rock star, really. And I know, there's people that just dislike Walsh because he's hot. I don't get it, but I identify why you feel that way, I guess. But we're dealing with a rock star. I think the biggest concern for Walsh is, how does how, Hollywood actors eventually just go weird? Or at least most of them, 8 out of 10. And I'm not saying he's a Hollywood actor, but he's getting to these stratospheres of fame, at least in Australia, where it's the only way he's going to stay grounded is a really strong coach and his family. I think that's the only, if he can just stay locked in with his family. Otherwise, how does the human mind deal with that much adoration? Yeah. I don't know.
You reckon we could have a Reece Walsh hippie era incoming?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Eat, love, pray kind of stuff. Is that the movie?
Exactly.
Send him over to go backpacking for every off season to find himself. Come back. He's not going to be recognised in South America, surely. But yeah, so that's the only worry is how big is this kid going to get, and how do you deal with that sort of adoration? Every highlight show, including mine, glaze-a-thon, glaze-a-thon, glaze-a-thon. And then when you walk down the street, Glaze Mania, Glaze Mania. So it's going to be Glaze Watch for the off-season for...
Glaze Watch.
Okay, in regards to the game.
Glaze Watch?
Yeah, Glaze Watch.
Yeah.
That's what it'll be for Walshy over the off-season. Okay, so give Lukey a follow, guys, LDC_01. Give him a message. If you need a car, even if it's not with him, shoot him a message. He's so helpful. I got my car from him. Missus, you guys know the drill. Drive, Pattaya, Katoa, all that stuff. Let's talk about the game, though. I want to start with England because I am quite passionate about some of these points that I have in regards to England. This segment is brought to you by Grumpy Coffee. Go to grumpycoffee.com.au. Grab your Grumpy Coffee. We ship worldwide. And the reason it is because a few things may be grumpy in regard to some English selections. So hopefully by the end of chat, we can turn the frown upside down. I want to preface this all by saying I don't watch that much Super League. So there's a high chance that maybe my opinion is super misfounded. And wrong. So I'm more than happy to be corrected in the comments like, Kempy, that's so wrong, whatever. I'm not having a crack at the boys. These are really good footy players. And I think that them in an Australian system for, a long period of time, most of them probably could play NRL. My concern or problem is more with the selections and the coaching decisions that happened before this game. AJ Brimson is an Origin player. He probably would have been selected for Origin this year if he didn't pledge to England in May. He played Origin from 2020 to 2023. Now, is he a regular Origin player? No, I don't think he is. Is he a fringe Origin player? Yes. Outside of Herbie Farnworth, I can't see a single guy here that would be even in Origin discussion in this side. How the world can you leave AJ Brimson as 18th man? And it doesn't even have to be at fullback. I know Wellesby's a gun player in the Super League. I know he's done it year after year after year. So I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying, like, would Wellesby be in his current form? Now, if he was in Australia from a young age, maybe he would be in Origin chat. But in his current form, I don't think he would be anywhere close to Origin chat right now, in my opinion. And I look at the rest of this roster, outside of Herbie Farnworth, there's really not a player on the level of AJ Brimson. The fact that the selectors have him at 18th man suggests to me that, like, they've been caught up in. And look, I get why Super League fans get pissed off about Aussies talking down the Super League. It's funnily enough, it's a little bit similar to Queensland, New South Wales chip on our shoulder. We always think that you think you're better than us, and I know Pommies think that we think we're better than you, and that would piss me off. So I understand the frustration, I get it, but the fact that AJ Brimson was 18th man, the fact that Morgan Smithies didn't make this side is a joke, bro. It is a joke. I can't express it any stronger. Like, I understand that Morgan Knowles, bloody good player. He's been signed by the Dolphins. He's probably going to come over and be really good. Morgan Smithies was a regular in the best forward pack in the competition. What are we talking about here? And he can't make the England bench. In a game of your life, the England side completed at 70%, 77% or something. Not even that. What was it? 72%. As I said, I'm not having a crack at these England players. Most of them are probably better than me. Like, so I'm not talking from a perspective of a footy player. I'm talking from an analysing perspective. I'm talking from decisions made up the top of play style, like even little things. Like, why are you slide defending on Australia? What? You think they don't have systems to sort that? You need to take risks to beat Australia. You need to be jamming in and trying to upset their rhythms. Like, I just thought poor selections, poorly coached. There's not a single guy in this side that at the moment, in its current form. Now, as I said, in Australia, if they come up from a young age, playing against other guys that are really, really good, then they probably could be. But right now in this current form, the fact that you left out a forward out of the best NRL forward pack in the side, now maybe Morgan Knowles starts at 13 if you want him there. But even Morgan, like, he hasn't been proven in the NRL. Morgan Smithies has. He's stayed in the best pack all year long. And ironically, like, his one thing that is his downfall is he doesn't pass that much. That's great. Get him in the front row and just get him up and down. That blows my mind. And then the AJ Brimson one blows my mind. And maybe it's at 6, maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe it's on the, I don't know. But he needed to be in the side. Blows my mind. Poor selection, poor coaching in my opinion.
Matty Nicholson as well, another one. Didn't even get a start. And he was probably one of the best back rowers in the comp until he got injured around Magic Round time.
Was he available, Matty Nicholson?
He was available, but he wasn't picked because he hadn't played enough NRL games.
What do you mean? Yeah, you know who hasn't played enough NRL games?
Anyone
This whole
else in
side.
that team.
This whole side. This whole side. As I said, this is not a crack at the players. Like, I don't know what they're thinking, the administration and the coaching. It just doesn't make any sense. And I want England to be good. They seem like a lovely bunch of young lads. They're bloody good footy players, but they're getting let down by coaching selections and administration. And I think they're getting too caught up in the chip on the shoulder of going, oh, well, he's a gun in Super League, so we're going to pick him over the NRL player. I'm sorry. Like, yes, there are good clubs in the Super League. Absolutely. Like, the top tier of the Super League, it's a good quality footy. Most of Super League, though, is not good quality. And I know that pisses people off, but that's my opinion. If you've got a guy that is proven in NRL and can play, he should be selected over a solid Super League player, in my opinion, and players that have done the job before. It's just frustrating because England players deserve better. They're better than this. Yes, okay, on paper, is it one of the weaker sides? But they're still better than this. If they had to come out and complete it at 90% and put their best foot forward, I'd say, you know what? Sometimes these things happen. Australia's just much better, but it didn't do that. Another stat that I just want to talk about, I'll shut the fuck up and let you guys take the floor, but this just really frustrated me because I just felt they were let down. This is how far away this England's current selected side is from Australia. Australia completed at 66%, but that's not the big deal. It's an important fact, but it's not the big deal. The big deal is this. The average play the ball speed for Australia was 4.1 seconds. That's the slowest I've ever seen. Now think about that. This is what that is as an average, not even as a, that was our slowest play speed. Contact, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the average play the ball speed. Australia still averaged nearly 15 more meters per set. So slow play the ball, low completion rate, and they still average 15 meters per set. So the average meters per set was, I think it was 33 to 47. I just got to get up here. Have you got it there by any chance?
I've got 33 to 48.
Yeah, 33 to 48. And to make matters worse, the play the ball speed for England was 3.46 a second. Now, listen, I understand it's an England ref. I get it. It's part of the international game that an English ref is going to be like, listen, I'm going to give him a bit of leg up here. Okay, all right, sweet. The fact that they got dominated as much as they did, and they had 3.46 seconds, a completion rate of, that's how far physically that forward pack was from the Australian forward pack, that they were getting slow play the balls and still absolutely dominating the England one.
Yeah, and another selection decision that I want to mention, looking at their two halves, I personally view both George Williams and Mikey Lewis as 5'8". A halfback won the Man of Steel this year. Jake Connor did not get in the side, which was a topic of contention when the side came out. In hindsight, I really can't understand that. But when you want to talk about systems, which is what you're alluding to in terms of developing players, I'm looking at a list in front of me of 17 coaches who have won the Super League. 5 of them are from England. 11 Australia, one New Zealand. So you're getting in the NRL. We have I think an issue where there's not standardized coaching across the whole NRL. You've then got the Super League that are taking on Australian coaches, and they're the ones finding success. It's a pretty terrible indictment on the availability of coaches in England and the quality of those guys. So in the end, is it all that surprising that their players aren't of the same caliber?
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like I truly believe if you took these English boys, or UK or whatever, and put them in Australia, like, they're good players. They're good footy players. As a matter of fact, they're playing good footy in spite of the resources put into the game. So it's not a knock on the players. I promise you that. Most of you boys are probably better than me. Like I'm not knocking the boys. I just think that they're let down by some of these decisions. I feel sorry for the England fans. I feel like that they've been, let down by some poor decisions. And I don't think that even if they played their best, do they beat Australia? Like, maybe not, but it would have been competitive.
Yeah, I mean, England at their best is still relying on Australia to have an off day, I think, to beat them. And I mean, that's coming from me. I literally said I wanted them to win. This is from a perspective of wanting Australia to have like genuine international competition. I want England to be doing so much better. But, the fact is over there, you've got your Wigan, St Helens, you have Hull KR who won the Super League for the first time this year. They can come up from nothing, but it's very rare. You've got the institution of the top two.
Which are, again, I want to reiterate, I don't log the whole Super League in the same bucket. Like, the top tier are really well-run clubs with good academies. The problem is, it doesn't matter how good your academy is if you're playing not as good people.
Well, yeah, and the fact is, I mean, I've been to both Wigan and St Helens. We're talking about little northern towns, little-ish. When you compare that to the grassroots available in Brisbane, in Sydney, there's a reason why these two countries are so far apart. So we talk about resources with Pacific Islands, resources for England, right? There were rumours earlier this year that the NRL might come in and buy them, and there's two sides to that coin, but it would at least help in terms of finances and all that.
Look, I think it's probably the only path forward. I think right now, if we can connect the competitions, may open up more talent for the Super League. So I got a message from an England fan that was quite disappointed, but and you just brought this point up as well. I think Penrith, just the Penrith area, have more juniors than all of England that play rugby.
Would not surprise me at all.
And so, again, I know I've said it a few times, this is not about the players. This is about people in positions of power, probably getting paid relatively well, that are making poor rugby league decisions, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Look, it's one game, so things could change. But if I was to give my opinion on do these guys know footy well enough to be leading a nation in it, at the moment from this game, I would say no. Now that can change, obviously. It might just be a bad game. Might be every coach goes through it. Like, I'll never forget, it happens to some of NRL coaches. I remember an NRL coach coming out before a grand final and saying, "Nah, we're just treating it like another week, like same as usual." And I remember at the time, Matty, you can back this up. I was like, it's not another game. Like, what? That's, in my opinion, that's not good coaching to say, the grand final is just another game. You just turn up, you do your thing. And that's like, to this, I think that leadership had convinced them that all the negative talk from Australia was wrong. And you actually know we are as good as Australia. When in reality, I feel like the other approach should have been taken is like, not necessarily that it's right. Like, some of the talk is fucking nonsense, but we need the game of our lives, boys. We are not as good as these guys on paper. However, we can do something great today. Now, maybe that is the direction that he took. if it is, then the playing group has let him down. Because if you're getting that chat and you're coming out and playing at 73% completion rate, like that's you're not responding very well to a game of our lives chat, in my opinion. Hammy, what are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, tough one. I think the big one for me is just the Brimson one. I think he must be pretty annoyed as well, being like, all right, I'm going to commit, so I'm going to play with you, go all the way over there, then, cop the 18th man for the first one. Like, surely he would have thought, if I'm getting on board, I'm getting a game. The good thing about him is he's pretty versatile, so they can plug him in. He's played at various positions for the Titans, all that sort of stuff. It seems like they really like this Wellesby guy at the back there. I haven't watched a great deal of him. Sounds like you do hear some pretty good chat and some good hype. League you'd probably know better about. I wonder whether the spot they might look to bring him in is maybe whack him in the halves.
Potentially.
As a number 6. Like George Williams has made a grand final in the NRL before as a halfback. Maybe that's the way they kind of balance it out. But look, it wasn't pretty. It was a bit of an arm wrestle at least until half time if they're looking for a positive. Like Australia hadn't fully blown away. I know they were clunky as well. But they definitely didn't probably come out with that intensity that you described, which we spoke about with Queensland in Game 3 this season. Yes, they got 2 games to turn around. Maybe they'll surprise us, but they probably weren't as desperate and up for it as they maybe needed to be. And again, there was a few selection question marks there that probably didn't help, but they want to be a little bit better because Australia, as you said as well, definitely weren't at their best. So if they improve, and that's the best thing you kind of put together, it's going to be a long series for them.
Yeah, well, see, this is what I was alluding to last week with who I wanted to win. I have now really zero hype for the rest of the series. Imagine if you're an England fan, you're just basically waiting for your team to get pumped twice for the rest of this series.
And to be honest, I think, I can't speak for England fans, but I'd assume that even if you win one, I assume most England fans go, okay, Aussies will just come in Game 3 and absolutely towel us up because they'll actually turn it on. I'd assume anyway. Sorry if that's not the case.
The other way around, say Australia win the next one and England win Game 3. Sure, it's nice, but you'll then have the narrative of, well, it was one.
Honestly, as an Australian, I didn't even want to see this shit. Like, and what I mean by that is I don't want to see a truly non-competitive game. Like, I want to see England do well. Like, it's really not about the players. Like, it's really about, I just think they've been let down by... Like the coach and the coaching staff and the administration, their job is to get these guys in the best possible mental space to run out there and do something great. And I don't think they did.
See, this is the institutional thing, right? Which means it's a long-term change. We, in Australia, we see the English national team. That's the end product. But you look at the Super League ladder, you've got the likes of Castleford and Lee, which are towns of 45,000 people. That's what they're working with. Yeah. This is why I'm such an advocate for getting Bradford in, getting London in, Toulouse. That's what's going to then increase the standard in the Super League.
And they literally just denied London Broncos.
Yeah, exactly that. So, look, these things are happening behind the scenes, but it's a long-term investment into the Super League. And I unfortunately do think it'll be a long time before we see England at that level. Yeah. I mean, look, I was talking to Matty earlier. You look at an England team from 5 or 10 years ago, it's full of the Burgess brothers, James Graham.
Mate, unbelievable.
This is just a really bad era for England, unfortunately. So it's rough. These players are better than what they showed.
Absolutely, they are. I really think that the game plan, from selections all the way to the game plan, I just think they've had poor leadership. Matty, I'd love to get your thoughts, mate.
Yeah, I've tried to put myself in the England shoes, and looking at their last 8 years, which is a long time, I think they've fallen into a false sense of security. So the last time they played Australia was 8 years ago in the 2017 World Cup, which was here in Brisbane. Game was 6-0, one of the best international games I've ever watched. What you just said, League, the England team was much better. But I think since then, if you look since then, they haven't played a game. They haven't played Australia since then, first of all. And to their credit, they have won some series, but they've all been at home. They've played 2 away games, from what I can see, in 8 years, and they were in France, so bloody next door, right? So they basically stayed in English the whole time. They've beaten Samoa and they've beaten Tonga, which is fair. They're good at the moment, but they are emerging. They're not powerhouses yet, and they've come halfway across the road, and they weren't full strength. So I think that these wins at home have kind of put them in this false sense of security, as if to say, oh, we're actually quite good. We beat Tonga. We beat Samoa. This is why I'm picking these guys that have done the job before. But that's naive and that's arrogant because you haven't played Australia and you haven't played away from home. So I hope this week is a wake-up call for them, because it seems to me that in those 4 wars, they think they're top shit for their record in the last 8 years, but they're not.
Yeah, it's a great point because, and look, I love the banter. But, if you're going to be throwing banter out, you've got to be, you've got to have some sense of confidence behind you to be having a bit of banter. You're right. Maybe they have had a sense of we're going a bit better than what we thought. I'm just looking here quickly. their front rowers ran for 37 metres and 36 metres. You're telling me that Morgan Smithies and Nichols wouldn't have ran for more than 36 metres?
That's against a forward pack that lost Isaiah Yeo 8 minutes into the game.
Yeah.
So there's genuinely zero excuse. But yeah, to Matty's point, like 10 years ago, it was literally just International Rugby League was a 2-horse race between England and New Zealand to play Australia in the final of every tournament. There could be an element of complacency, honestly, in their development.
I just would have thought the Samoa loss at home in that World Cup would have been like, oh shit, like, you know, that Samoa team that beat them in the World Cup is nowhere near as good as the Samoa that we're looking at right now. And look, I'm sorry, England fans. I know it pisses you off when I speak negatively about Super League or England. I'm not doing it from a place of like, first of all, I'm more than willing to admit my opinion is incorrect. Like, I'm more than willing, if someone says, mate, here's all these highlights of Wellesby that says he's fucking unbelievable. Me personally, I just think that, not even just Wellesby, anyone that can play Brimo's position, maybe you can show me highlights that they are good enough to be essentially playing Origin. But I can't, unless you want a Man of Steel currently, like, even the Man of Steels in Super League currently probably wouldn't be in conversation for Origin in the NRL. That's the evidence that I use of the standard difference. Does it mean that all the Super League's back? Absolutely not. Doesn't mean that all Super League's back. It just says to me that there's still a substantial gap between the NRL and the Super League. The fact that some of our guys that couldn't get contracts go over and win Man of Steels. And it's not having a crack. Guys, I grew up playing soccer. We were like poo on the bottom of a shoe compared to England in soccer. Like, if you came over and had an England accent, you basically got selected immediately. That's how much we used to. So I know the feeling of being the sport with no funding, that's always gets talked shit about. Like, I empathise with you, but this is just my opinion here, and I'm happy for comments in the comments section, respectful ones that might disagree and think that I'm wrong. Let me know what you think, guys, and maybe I am wrong, but I just think they got let down by selections and coaching decisions.
Yeah, and there is 0 point in not acknowledging that and disingenuously, trying to hold on to thinking that England are on our level. Unfortunately, they're not. Recognise the problem, work to solve the problem. That's what you got to do.
And look, I think the scariest stat is the 4.1 second play of the ball and you still average 15 metres less. Like, I can't express to you, that means that when the Aussie boys are going into contact, it feels like they're playing reserve grade. And I'm not saying that to be a dick. I'm saying that to that's the only way you lose by that margin on average. And granted, I know you'll go, oh, but there was 9 line breaks or whatever. It's still 15 metres, bro. Like, average of 15 metres, and you completed at a high percentage. So that's a real concern that what's going to happen. Let's say next game, Australia complete at 85% and play well. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
And I don't want an English. Okay, we're going to speak about this. You got anything else, Matty, on that? I've got to say it, and I feel like I'm picking on him. I'm not. He's definitely a better footy player than me. But that tackle from Wellesby on his line, I could cop it if he was a rookie. But we're talking about one of the best outside back Super League's probably seen.
Yep.
We're talking about a player that would make NRL. Absolutely would make NRL. Now, would he be in the mix for Origin? Maybe, maybe not. But I don't think he'd be in the mix currently, but maybe if he grew up, he potentially be. So he's a bloody good player. We know that for sure. But if it was a rookie, I could cop. I got my bearings wrong. But, mate, you're wearing the famous English colours. It's got to be stretcher or I missed the tackle. It's got to be those two options. And that's coming from a guy, I'm not tough. Like, I was a winger, a little winger doing nothing. But, like, there were moments in my career where it was truly, I'll get knocked out before I take the next option. Now, granted, maybe he just got his bearings wrong. Maybe that just happened. But it wasn't a good look, man.
Yeah, look, as someone who defends International Rugby League to the hills, when I was watching that play, I thought, Jesus Christ, this makes my job so much harder, so much harder. It was rough. And, people will point to examples of, say, Lockie Miller, who did that in the
Who's in the Super League right now.
Yeah, he literally went over to the Super League after that.
And got hammered for doing it.
Yeah, exactly. So to do it on that stage, I mean, look, there's nothing we could tell Jack Wellesby that he doesn't know about that moment, right? He'll be kicking himself, but you have to deliver in that moment, and he didn't even show a jersey.
You just put your body in front. Like, you put your arms out. Do it, like, honest, in a perfect world, just you fully put your shoulder behind it. Do a jump chuck. Just do something. And in regards to the Lockie Miller one, he was a sevens player. So, like, he'd just come over to league. In sevens, it is all about up and sliding, and so there is a reason why it kind of happened, whereas hopefully it was just a brain explosion. Because, look, his toughness can't be questioned. You don't become one of the best Super League players if you're not tough. It's really that simple. So it's not really questioning his toughness. However, you just can never, ever, ever let that happen again. Because it just doesn't look great. What do you reckon, Hammy?
Yeah, not his finest moment there in a big game where a lot of people are watching. A lot of people haven't seen him before or a great deal of him. So that's the sort of stuff I suppose that will probably stick in the mind of a few NRL fans who hadn't seen a lot of him. But you don't like. I'm sure he'll be better. Going forward.
He would have to be
if he gets another crack. You never know, they might bring Brimo in, but not one for his highlight
Can
reel.
he play 6?
I haven't known him to ever play 6. I did see Sean Wayne talk about the fact that he thinks Brimson is a fullback as well, so it's probably a straight shootout between those two.
Because what I will say, obviously I haven't watched a lot of Super League, but don't look at that performance from Wellesby and think that's the kind of player he is. He's
Exactly.
It was a poor performance, but that's not the player he is. As I said, he is truly one of the better Super League players, and he's one of the rare-ish players, that probably would be able to play NRL if he came across here.
Yeah, it's a sample size of one. It goes for all the England players, to be honest. These are still very competent rugby league players.
Yeah.
It was just a really poor performance against, realistically the best side in the world. So
The scary thing is, though, Australia's been decimated by all these nations coming in and saying, I want to play for our heritage. What does the game look like if we had, all the boys that went and played for Samoa or Tonga?
Yeah.
You just feel like, oh, shit.
Carve up.
Payne Haas is up front with Tino, and anyway. So apologies, England fans. I'm sorry that was tough to listen to, but I truly do want it to be competitive. I don't want us to win, that's fucking for sure. But I definitely do want it to be competitive.
who would want that?
Yeah, what idiot.
Yeah, good point.
What idiot. Okay, in regards to the game, now let's talk about some positives for England. Herbie Farnworth continues to prove why he is an absolute superstar outside back. The fact that he did that in those conditions is some of the best players we've had on the losses like that are quiet, completely quiet. For Herbie Farnworth to still deliver the way he did and play as well as he did, mate, he's just so good, so good. And I think people are really starting to see his superstar qualities, but it's one thing to play well in a winning side, to do it in a side that played, probably nearly as bad as they could play, really. Outstanding. And the other guys, obviously, the 13 coming to the Dolphins, Morgan Knowles. Special. I cannot wait to see him in the NRL.
Yeah, he's a very, very good pickup for the Dolphins, linking up with Farnworth, obviously. But I said last week I think Farnworth is the best centre in the world. I think he continues to prove that and really stood out like a sore thumb, I believe, in this team. We spoke about the legends that England had back in the day. I think is a callback to that era, to be honest, and will continue to prove that. He's, 25 years old-ish?
Yeah, he's not old.
25. So much time ahead of him. Great player.
Yeah. I really like Kai Pearce-Paul offloading a bit more. It shows you that clearly Adam O'Brien was put that away because it was 4 offloads this game.
Yeah, I was going to touch on him as well. Obviously had my eyes on him as a Tigers fan, but the numbers, 4 offloads is great numbers, but the 77 metres or whatever doesn't, make for amazing reading. But I did feel like when he had the ball, he was a bit of a threat. There was kind of guys hanging off him. He busted a couple of tackles, got his arm free a bit too. I'm sure Benji will be happy for him to offload and stuff when he gets to the Tigers.
Yep.
I thought he showed some pretty good signs.
Yeah, I said on the potty last week that sort of the way I viewed their game plan is they selected forwards to absorb pressure and then let Kai Pearce-Paul have a bit more X factor. The forwards didn't absorb all that much, but he still managed to get a little bit done. So it was good to see.
Which is exciting. What's he going to do on a forward pack that wins that battle? Yep. In regards to game plan, I just think you've got to risk more. I think it's got to be up and in defence with sliding in behind. There is no way you are going to beat an Australian side playing conservatively. I think that England, I say you as if he's a Pommy. It's crazy.
Well, he's made his bet. He's got a line now.
I would be, yes, Reece Walsh has incredible footwork and he can step in if you jam in. Yes, that's true. However, him having to step in and bump players and throw over the top is way harder to do than him. If you slide on Reece Walsh, he's going, it's just my bread and butter, bread and butter. I just think that they've got to try to dictate terms a little bit more to the Australian side. Granted, I get it's easier said than done, especially with not winning the forward battle, but I think they need to be up and in defence, taking time away and trying to really rely on Australia being clunky, but also on Australia being a bit complacent. A 66% completion rate would suggest they were complacent. So I think they need to do more of that, which hopefully they can. And also I think they need to realise, you're going to need the game of your lives, boys. You are not as good as this team. It's really that simple. It's, I've been in teams where it's been simple. The other team was way better than us. And I think they need to play like that. Whereas at the moment, they played like a team that, as I said, was convinced that, no, we are as good as this Australian side. So we're going to get into a grind with them and see what they do. And look, what's crazy is like, when you actually watch the game, they had opportunities. Like, it's not like there were at least 2 or 3 opportunities that went begging. I mean, then the score is obviously it's totally different. But then the scoreboard pressure is quite different.
Yeah, I mean, it was 8-0 at half-time, and respectfully, the try Australia scored was off a forward pass.
Yeah.
So based on that, like, you'd think...
Allegedly, of course.
No, definitely.
What is Pommy, man? What the fuck?
Moral victory.
But look, I agree completely. It was frustrating to watch for sure from an England perspective. But the one good, I guess, silver lining you could argue is that when you talk about not playing conservatively, they now have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Right. They can throw the kitchen sink at it for the next 2 games. So hopefully we'll get to see a bit more open play.
All right. What's the Leaguies 1 to 17? Now I've thrown this on you, so I apologise, for game 2, or at least big changes you make.
Yeah, what changes?
Morgan Smithies is in there.
Does he start in the front row with Morgan Knowles, or does he come off the bench? I would start Morgan Smithies just because I've seen him do it at a high level. Not that to suggest Morgan Knowles might be better.
Yeah. Well, Knowles was playing lock, I believe. So you could have Smithies starting potentially at prop over one of Matty Lees or Ethan Harvard. I liked what I saw from Harvard, but
Wait, what? Luke Thompson, he was available, wasn't he?
yes, I believe so.
Okay.
That's off the top of my head, but look, I mean, he's another guy, to be fair, who's gone over to England. I think he's playing for Wigan. It's either Wigan or St Helens. These players are good, right? These guys did earn selection over the likes of Thompson, but you talk
Not
about
over the NRL guys, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. You talk about NRL experience.
Yep.
And look, it's easy for me to say because I actually didn't have Brimson in my 17 going into this game, but I would make that change now. For sure. Even if you want to put him, say, at centre, just get NRL experience on there who's used to playing against these guys. Yeah,
I think my changes would be Brimo to fullback. I would want to keep Wellesby in the side because as I said, I'm vaguely watching the Super League. I know he's a good player. I just don't know how I'd do it. Maybe, could he play centre, Wellesby?
I don't know. Not to my knowledge, but he's a bit of a bigger body.
Yeah, he's not small.
Yeah.
I would be the halves for me a little bit of a concern. Would you make changes there?
Well, they do have Harry Smith in the side. As I said, I view George Williams and Mikey Lewis both as 5'8". So I suppose if, like you said, you wanted to play a very open style, maybe that's the way to go. But yeah, I think they probably do need a 7 just to keep them in the game to some extent.
I would be actually probably starting Morgan Smithies, Morgan Knowles, and then having Nicholson probably. Bring him in. Is he part of the squad?
No, he's not in the squad.
He's not in the squad.
No.
Jeez.
He would be in if not, definitely for me. But no, they didn't pick him in the...
Because like if I have a front row starting of Smithies, Marky Nichols, and Morgan Knowles, I know Marky Nichols can go with
Matty Nicholson.
Sorry, Marky.
Marky Nichols would be good for them, to be fair.
True. Yeah. I mean, he'd be on my edge. So I think Bateman might be... He wouldn't be in my starting side. It'd be a debateman if he would be on my bench.
Nice.
And so maybe Marky Nichols, definitely Marky Nichols will be brought in. Like he ripped the NRL. He was literally going nearly as good as Hudson Young when he was playing for the Raiders. So he'd be brought in. Nichols, Smithies, then you go Kai Pearce-Paul. Sorry, take that back. Yeah, Matty Nicholson. Mm-hmm. Smithies, Knowles, so that's your front row. And then your edges would be Kai Pearce-Paul and Smithies. And that's essentially an NRL level forward pack in my opinion.
And I mentioned him last week, another man not in the side, Junior Nsemba. I'm sure he's going to play in the NRL someday. He's so explosive, so much X factor. You could have had that to counter the likes of Young and Crichton.
Okay.
But he's not in the squad, so they can't pick him.
He's not in the squad.
Not in the squad.
So that's what I'll be doing in regards to the forwards pack. I'm trying to think what else is there. Yeah, that's
two hookers. You could probably at least stick Brimo on the bench, sack one of the hookers off.
Well, here's the thing. The number 14, Jez Litton, with a name like Jez, I think has got to get in the side just based on that. If your name is Jeremy and you go Jez,
yeah, true,
cool as hell.
You've chosen to just Jez-based selection.
Yeah.
I just, as I said, like, listen, if you for some reason you had Wellesby there instead of Brimo, I kind of understand. I would always have Brimo there. But surely somewhere else here, like you could surely fit him somewhere else on this side.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I said last week in the Wellesby versus Brimson debate, English fans would have been, I think, rightfully pretty livid if this Aussie came in and displaced their guy, right? Without their guy getting a chance. He's now had a chance. You know? That was the one game. He would have known that Brimson is there in the squad, potentially going to take his side, his spot.
Look, has the coach spoke about that? Is like he got the selection because he's an Englishman?
No, not specifically like that, but he has spoken about how Wellesby, I mean, as we alluded to earlier, is his guy, has done the job there before. But he has said flat out that he thinks Brimson's position is fullback. So it's between those two.
I just think, listen, if you're selected in a squad, there should be no, and I know, like, in reality, like, he's more pommy than Brimo is. I get that. But at least in my opinion, if you're selected, you're all as pommy as each other. Like
for sure, yeah, and definitely the coach should be viewing it that way. I'm just talking about the wider audience.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. And also, I understand why the wider audience do feel that way. If I'm being honest, I probably would feel the same way in the Australian sense, just because of that connection to being Aussie.
We had a situation a few years ago when Semi Radradra played for Australia. It's just despite being born in Fiji and all that stuff, and there was a bit of 50-50 by the Australian public over if he kind of should have been picked.
Yeah. So that's fair. I understand why England feel that way. Okay. In regards to the Aussie side, we've already spoken about Reece Walsh. What's going to turn my frown upside down is the officiating. It is the officiating. To be honest, a little bit both ways. Obviously, that was a forward pass to start with. But, a similar-ish thing happened in the World Club Challenge, I think. Where I think it was the same ref that did it.
He is the top ref over there.
Yeah. So, look, I get it to a degree, but 4.1 seconds, bro. Bro, come on.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Let's get. I'd rather him just give him a call here or there than the average is 4.1 seconds. That means that you really were every tackle trying to control the ruck. And I actually don't think it helps England because when the NRL ref does come in, they're going to be like, what the fuck is happening? So hopefully that can improve because, that had me frowning. So if it does improve, it'll turn my frown upside down. So that whole segment was brought to you by Grumpy Coffee Guys. Everyday Grumpy is made from a blend of three variety of beans from different countries. You've got PNG, Brazil, and Colombia. And also, they're 100% Arabica beans, and they are an 85 out of 100 cupping rating, guys. So make sure to go to grumpycoffee.com.au, grab your beans, and you will enjoy them. All right, with the Kangaroos, already spoken about Walshy. I thought Munster was really, really good. I was going to put a post up actually yesterday, and I think actually the power this year at least is in the lack of moustache. Lack of moustache, because if you go back to the grand final, he had a moustache. But if you go back to his origin performance, clean shaven, came out with a slick back, killed it.
Yep.
I saw him slick back for Australia. I was like, fuck, he's on. And then I was like, how deep does the rabbit hole go? So I went all the way back to 2017, and unfortunately he ruined I was going to have one of the great stats all time, but he had a moustache.
Ruined your theory. But post 2017?
No, he had one in 22.
22.
Yeah, so okay. I had a great stat about his moustache, holding him back. But at least in 2025, if he rolls out this year without a moustache, he's most likely going to win the game and play well.
Oh, look, it's a very simple aerodynamic question. You literally, less weight, the airflow around the face.
Game's gotten quicker too. Game's gotten quicker.
Exactly that.
Play the ball speed. Exactly. Much quicker.
Yeah, exactly.
Too much facial hair in the English team, I'd say. Maybe something they need to think about.
And also, they were already averaging a 4.1 second play the ball speed. If he had a moustache, you're talking about 4.5 or so.
Yeah. Easy.
That's crazy. But anyway, I thought Munster was really good. You know what? I love late Nathan Cleary, and if that's a surprise to you, you haven't been listening to this podcast because I glaze him every single week. But look, it's Glaze Watch. It's back on.
Yep.
Man, okay, so usually when you watch a legend, because he's already a legend in my opinion in rugby league, they're so competitive when they start speaking about players that have beaten them or taken their throne or whatever. They say the right things, but you can see by their body language, their competitive side is like, oh man, it stings me to say this. Man, just watching Cleary speak about Walshy and the Broncos and whatever, and maybe it's my Broncos bias because he's always been like this. He is so humble, it's a joke. It's actually ridiculous how humble he is. Every time you see him speak about another player, he's always glowing and, speaking about Mitchell Moses. I know he's, a lot of people think he's locked in that 7 jersey, but there's a chance that Moses maybe gets the jersey off him next year. Whereas he is just so humble, so respectful, just such a fan of Cleary.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about Reece Walsh earlier and how, he's a bit of a rock star now in the rugby league world. He talks the talk, he walks the walk. Cleary also walks the walk, but it's a completely different style. He probably has the right to be a little bit more chirpy than he is, but you're completely right in saying that there is pressure, right? We've seen, him in Origin, a lot of New South Wales fans are off him. Moses is literally there in this side. For him to deliver in the way he did, I thought was very impressive.
Yeah, and again, it's all well and good to be a good bloke when things are going your way. When you start to feel a bit of pressure, the real you comes out, and you might hear some negative chat, or you can see his body language just... we've all seen it, haven't we? Legend players get asked about another legend player, and they say the right thing, but their body language is like, man, fuck that guy. It's not like that with Nathan Cleary. He's just... that's why he's so great, in my opinion, Hammy.
Yes, very humble. A lot to like about Nathan Cleary as well. No Mary at this game. Should be at game 2 and 3.
Okay.
Richie reporting.
Yeah, okay. So he's going to be my anytime try scorer.
Yeah.
It's going to be love-based try.
Love-based performance incoming, you reckon?
Yeah. So watch this space. But
back in high school, and the girl you likes watching say, "Oh, fuck, one of the
just go to
skits,
another
bro."
gear, don't you?
I reckon Nathan Cleary's going to be on the field and literally say, "I'm fucking going skits, guy. Fucking look, my missus up there."
I wouldn't put it past him. Would not put it past him. Mate, he was really good. I'll tell you another player I thought was outstanding. I know we're probably going to talk about him in a bit. Angus Crichton had 2 tries, very nearly had a hat-trick.
Yeah.
That was that little flick pass from Walsh that got called back for the...
Such an interesting career, Crichton.
I know, because he kind of, obviously last year, Wally Lewis medalist, killed it in Origin. This year, still a pretty good season, but probably maybe a little bit quieter.
Dropped off a little bit,
But he went back to that level for this game.
Yeah. I think you could probably speak better. The back end of the year was pretty good, but for the start, he was a bit quiet.
Yeah, it was a very high bar of 2024.
That's right.
But yeah, he sort of worked into it towards the back end of the year. But you look at the shoes of Boyd Cordner to fill out the Roosters. For him to even have done a decent job of that is impressive. He's done it very well.
Yeah. Who else stood out for you, mate?
Mate, look, those were probably the Hudson Young I thought was pretty good. Obviously, I would have loved him to get that try. But, I thought he's had a great year and just continued to be a real handful there. Yeah, the back rowers, I think, were really, really good. Mate, those are probably the main ones that stood out. Mark Nwangani Tuase didn't get a try, which you know all too well from Face of Music. But despite that, I thought he just slipped in beautifully.
I'm Devo. He's going back to League. I just think... he'd become such a superstar in the NRL.
Yeah,
he just got all the ingredients to be an absolute star. He looked hot as anything in that famous jersey.
Suited him nicely.
Oh man,
223 metres from 19 runs.
Debut.
Yeah,
I don't know. He's played Wallabies too, which you could argue they are bigger debuts for the Wallabies. But yeah, I agree, mate. I thought he was really good. One thing I want to speak about, and this has been driving me crazy for long, and I've spoken about it a little bit with Tino, but just the aggression we saw from him on the weekend. He only had to play, I think it was 20 minutes or so. Please, for the love of God, whoever signs Tino, you've got a 6'6", absolute Adonis of a human being. Why are you making him do all the crap work playing 80 minutes? Get him as a weapon forward that's breaking the line. Don't get him, mate, taking 40, 50 tackles a game, doing all the shit work. Leave that for other body types that suit that, not the guy that's literally designed in a lab for rugby league. Anyway, I love the aggression of Tino. I love the fact that he's still all about that. Go back to a few years ago with that push and shove with Payne Haas. Not very many people that will push and shove with Payne Haas. Tino obviously did for Queensland. I loved his aggression on the weekend.
Yeah, I think if he didn't happen to coexist with Payne Haas in the same era, you got this incredible forward in Haas, he'd get a lot more recognition. And he would probably be the NRL's, main intimidating guy. He was very good. Speaking about sort of the Kangaroos forwards in general, I mentioned earlier that they did it pretty much without Yo for the whole game. The fact that we didn't even talk about that they didn't miss a beat whatsoever and frankly dominated the English pack, that's a brilliant testament to what they were all able to achieve.
And that's where I, when I get a bit harsh about the leadership or decisions from England, if you were to just take away all the build-up and everything like that and just looked at the two packs, it was the Australian forward pack that I felt was playing like a pack that was needing to play the game of their lives, that felt disrespected, that felt... because I think it felt like to me, and granted they weren't at their best, but I did think they were quite aggressive and quite dominant. It felt to me like they had read all the headlines of, you've lost Payne Haas and you lose all these guys, Polynesian boys to other teams. It felt like this pack was going to say, no, we're good. We're just as good, just as strong. I thought they were really good through the middle. My boy Tommy didn't coming on once again and immediately getting involved in a try scoring opportunity.
Yep,
far out, can't help himself. Outside of that, I just think it's hard to be too glowing about the performance because they left so much out there. However, they did the job the way they needed to do it.
Yeah.
Tino, had 37 minutes on the field. Outside of that, just trying to think.
You can only play who's in front of you, right?
Yeah.
So, got to give them credit where it's due.
But yeah, Cam Munster, I thought he was absolutely outstanding. You know, he's probably my man of the match outside of Reece Walsh is Cam Munster. But yeah, good by the boys, but they just need to complete better. That is their main concern going forward. Not really concern, but you know what I'm saying. Okay, let's get to the other game that happened on the weekend. That was absolutely outstanding. I've got to say, and this is brought to you by Aussie Footy Shorts, guys. Footy Shorts with pockets. And I wear them at home all the time, guys. We've got some bloke designs on there as well. Absolute legends to deal with. They've been partnering with the show for years now. They got different designs all across the board. So make sure to go there. Maybe I'm not sure if they do. They might even have Samoa and Tongan designs. But even if they don't, they've got so many designs. You will be happy there, guys. So go to Aussie Footy Shorts website and grab your footy shorts today. Okay, Samoa versus Tonga. Samoa beat Tonga 28-0. Okay, I want to say this. I'm not saying Samoa weren't the better side. Samoa were absolutely the better side by a solid margin. However, I think Tonga got absolutely dudded with two shocking calls, like two absolute shockers. I actually think Samoa still win the game, even though those calls went against Tonga. However, it doesn't change the fact that they were absolute Barry Crockers of calls, in my opinion. In what planet was that not at least 10 in the bin in today's environment? Listen, I'm all for the tough stuff, guys. You know that. But that was clear, easy, contact with the head, barely any mitigating circumstances, and he went off the field. Now, I'm not of the ilk of like, if he can't play for the rest of the game, then also I'm not that at all. There was enough evidence to go, that's 10 in the bin. So you go that and you go, okay, I get where the ref's coming from. He wants a game that's aggressive, and so I can respect him to that degree. But then the RTS one happened, and I'm sitting there going, have you ever watched? If you are not calling that a 10 in the bin, you have not watched rugby league. Like that was a clear as day, in my opinion, 10 in the bin. He stuck his arm out and lent his shoulder into him. That for years now has been. You almost actively have to get out of the way of people coming through, let alone leaning across and putting your arm out like that. So I did think they got dudded with some tough calls.
But then he put his hands up in the air straight after.
That helps. You know what?
So it was fine.
That bamboozles people sometimes. When you go, oh, fuck, sorry, didn't mean it.
Yeah.
They go, oh, shit. Okay, you didn't mean it. Don't worry about it. Boys, thoughts on those calls?
Yeah, I mean, got that first one with Molo. That's definitely at the NRL level, a sin bin every day of the week. I get the logic of it being so early in the game and how like that would be the talking point, but realistically, that tackle is what it is. With the Roger one, watching it in real time, initially I wasn't completely sure. I do think with calls like that, there is a little bit of an issue when we watch it in slow motion. But as you say, he put his arm out. That to me is pretty clear cut. Probably should have been 10.
If he doesn't put his arm out, I'm happy to let it go to the keeper. And look, RTS has been playing rugby league forever. He understands the feel of those situations. He understands. Are you telling me right now, if it was to win the game, he couldn't have not put his arm? You know what I'm saying? Like this idea that he's just had to do it. It's like, come on, man. We're not talking about a rookie that is caught up in the moment. He knew exactly what he was doing, in my opinion.
It's interesting. Old on-field ref, when he sensed it up, goes, I think he may have held his ground. I wonder if that like planted a bit of a seed there, because like footwork wise, whatever, like he kind of stood there, but he still kind of like manipulated himself to get in the way. Knew what he was doing.
He knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
Like as I said, if it was like flipped and the reverse was he needs to get out of the way to win the game, he would have easy not made touch him. And Grant, as I said, I'm okay with the holding of the ground and also even bracing for impact. But if you're putting your arm out and you're leaning in, I think that was 10 in the bin. I do. Or a penalty try. I think 10 in the bin is probably more likely because you don't know what's going to happen from that point on.
Yeah.
So, okay, with that out of the way, Samoa was still substantially better side.
Yes.
They really were. As a matter of fact, it might be one of the best. You know what? It's probably the best Samoa performance I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, the margin was actually bigger than the Ashes game, and we just gave England an absolute bath. I think Tonga probably do deserve to be under similar scrutiny, but
they will be.
Good.
Don't you worry about that.
Samoa were definitely at the top of their game. I spoke last week about how I thought they were blowing out the cobwebs for most of the first half against the Kiwis. They came back towards the back end of that game. This was them having done that, and I think really that was a big difference between the two sides, that one had played a game, had got their systems in place, the other hadn't.
Yeah. Listen, I can cop the excuse of Samoa had played before, so they're clicking. I'll cop that every day of the week because it really is a big deal. But the missed opportunities Tonga had, like, they were so poor in executing. And what's weird about the Tongan loss is, like, they did all the hard stuff. They got in the physical battle. They held out Samoa, essentially kept themselves in the game for most of it before the break. Obviously, after the break, it went to shit. If anything, I think the break exposed the difference in mentality. I think you could see Samoa, they just wanted it more. And I think the damning thing for Tonga is the last thing you want as a Tongan is to be told Samoa wanted it more. And I think they did, unfortunately.
I'm glad you touched on the lightning break because, it was just looking at the two scenes in the sheds. You had Samoa, who very early started warming up, doing little drills. Tonga were mostly sitting down, talking about it. And I thought that little situation was going to be fascinating when you look at leaders, particularly among the playing group. With Samoa, you've got Luai, who'd be getting the boys up, Paulo, RTS, Papali'i. I don't know if those leaders exist in the same quantity for Tonga, and I think that really was exposed in that period.
I think there was an air of we've got another game up our sleeve. That's what it felt like to me. Whereas Samoa were playing like a team. It's now or never. I will say I saw a funny comment I think from Gus Gould, and he said the lightning was from Tonga's cheeks getting clapped.
Is that what he said?
Jesus, Gus. Okay.
Jeez. Big off season for Gus.
Yeah.
Back of the toilet
Obviously not the real Gus Gould.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I find it so funny. Like I lost my shit when I read it. So I think it's a mixture of we've got a game up our sleeve and really poor execution. Like I have no doubt in me that this Tongan team, it means a lot to them at all. Like I think that next week we're going to see a very different side. But so that's where I can forgive him to a degree. But the execution, like even little things like Iongi's, the RTS situation, like he has to make that. Like he should be making that play 10 times out of 10 times. For him to drop that ball, and I'm not blaming the whole loss on him. I'm just using it as an example of clear opportunity. He would nail that play, honestly, 10 out of 10 times. Just little things like that where I was like, they're just a little bit off mentally. They're just not fully zoned in the way you would expect a Tongan side playing Samoa.
Yeah, I mean, look, you know this infinitely better than me having played NRL, but while that is 100% true, you look at the halves combination of Katoa and Iongi, neither of their teams made the finals. So they literally haven't played in 6 weeks. Do you think it was an element of them being rusty both physically and mentally? Because those are literally
they're too good, bro.
playmakers.
They're too good. Like stuff like if you want to go say the whole performance, like were they rusty and clunky with each other? Yeah, maybe that's true. But just like little moments like that, we're talking about the best, bro. Like that's easy for like Iongi has done way harder stuff. Like that's a lack of concentration in my opinion for that moment. And I don't want to single out Iongi because he's not the only one. I will say as well, like I wasn't too sure about him being selected at 6. I
felt for him a bit
yeah,
there.
like 3 games where you've got 2 games, you know. To get it all together in 2 games, I just don't know whether, like, I'd much rather go a 6 that's not as good as Iongi individually, but he's an out-and-out 6. Now, Matty, could you get potentially the options of 6 that they had?
Well,
they
one of them might have had,
ones.
I think he's had a little bit of off-season surgery. Latu Fainu could have been pretty good there at number 6 with Qatar.
He pledged to Fiji, actually, him and the other brothers.
Yeah,
no way.
I know that they were eligible for both, but he has played for Tonga in the past, so he's
They can,
Fiji.
I think they can switch back and forth too because they're two nations.
They can, yes, but for this specific championship,
pledged
all
Fiji.
3 brothers
Gotcha.
pledged.
Yep.
None of them actually got picked in the side through injuries and such, but
Yep.
they did all pledge.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd love to know who the other option was. Now, listen, fair play. If there was literally no other option, then fair play, put Iongi there. But if there was an NRL level 6 that could slot in there, I would have probably gone that route.
The guy that they tend to rely on is Tui Lolohea.
Yeah.
He comes in. He's played for the Huddersfield Giants, 30 years old, but he's just had big surgery.
Yeah, okay.
So it really could have been a case of they didn't have anyone to put in there.
Yeah, even, like, I get it, and so I'm not too harsh on it now that it's kind of gone through. Even then, when I have a situation if I was a coach and I had a situation like that, I always just pick the best defender. Like if I've got, I don't know who's going to be 6 and I've got to move players' positions, I'd almost rather put a really good defensive back rower there than a 6 there because they got enough. Katoa, they got enough there. You got
There isn't really a standout.
There isn't a standout. Okay, fair enough. I still would lean more towards let's get a really good defensive person there that's going to be comfortable in just running the ball and doing his thing. Whereas I feel like Iongi got caught in this like weird spot of like play like an out-and-out 6 kind of, but I'm more of a fullback. But yeah, the blame isn't on Iongi just by himself at all. There were other players that struggled as well. I thought here's a really good example. The number 9, sorry, it wasn't ended up being number 9, but is it Uelu? I would have picked him for Samoa last week as well. I'm a big believer if you've got a genuine position like in the spine, pick the less experienced or less talented guy because he's genuine in that position over the other guy that's more experienced and might be better. And I think a really good example of that is Samoa. He was incredible for Samoa, and they looked so much more fluent with him at 9. Because Jazz Tavanga is not a 9. He's a 13. He's a forward that can play really anywhere if he needed to. And I think that's a really good example of sometimes whether it's a rookie or it's someone that's not as well known, in my opinion, you're always better off going the out and out position of that.
Yep, agreed 100% on Uelo. I said it last week. I said that with Jazz Tavanga there at hooker, they didn't look great in attack particularly, but he came on and just shored it all up, gave good service, helped the execution. The thing on the 6 jersey for Tonga and putting in a defensive back rower in there, I've got a stat on the defense that they put in. So you've got Eli Katoa and Leka Halasima, who played 80 minutes in the back row. Combined, they missed 13 tackles. Samoa's pairing of Nanai and Sasangi missed only 5. They all played 80 minutes.
Yeah.
So it was a particularly bad defensive day for the back rowers as well. So potentially that's another case where they don't have, like a Wade Graham type who used to fill in at 6. It just might not be there.
And you're so focused on what they can do in attack that you're probably not looking too much in defence.
I mean, you look the other side of the field, Simi Sasangi, maybe a perfect example of someone who Tonga could have put in that 6 jersey like Canberra did at the back end of the season. But they don't have that guy.
They don't have that guy. Because I'm trying to rack my brain. Like, surely there's a guy of Tongan heritage that is a kind of ball-playing back rower-ish that could fit in there. But, yeah, so as I said, I don't want to be too harsh on Yongi. Like, he got thrown in the deep end. In regards to some other boys that played, I guess, could have been better, Leahy Hopewadi is such an interesting guy because he has these, like, long streaks of being, like, the rookie of the year, essentially. Like, wow, this guy is so good. But then every now and then he has a game where he just doesn't look committed's not the right word, engaged. And I felt like on the weekend, it wasn't the Leahy Hopewadi that we've come to know and love. I thought he was very quiet for his standard.
Yeah, I mentioned that when the game was on. I mean, we've seen Hopewadi put in some incredible performances in that Tongan jersey. I remember there was a game that they played against Australia where defensively he was just pulling off tackles that a man of his size should not be able to do. But I wonder if when you then look at Clubland where they've got that issue with Trebojevic as well, could it potentially be that he's moved around so many different positions and roles? I know that this is the national stage, but maybe if he was a rusted-on fullback, he'd be able to execute more
comfortable in that. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Another big question for me, Alamotti not in the starting side. I'm a huge Katoa fan. I really am. And I think, like, career-wise, I know, Oldemali's won premierships, but, like, career-wise, you've probably seen Katoa play more good games than Alamotti in regards to number of games. However, form-wise, Alamotti was almost the player of the freaking final series this year. Yep. I would have had Alamotti in there.
Yeah, 100%. And when you have, I know that Tupou and Katoa have decent meters out of their own end, but you want someone who's just a wrecking ball, basically, off the kick return.
Your version of Toto, really.
Exactly that. So to not pick him in that side was a little bit of a head scratcher.
Yeah, stiff. Good back line, but yeah, maybe if they were to make the change, maybe Katoa's the unlucky one there.
Could you put Havili at 6? I know it sounds a little silly, but like...
Well, the issue then, they don't have any other hookers. Look at that bench. Well, Sonny Luke, I suppose, but then you haven't got a guy to stick in at 14. And is Sonny Luke an 80-minute hooker?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough one. It really is a tough one.
That's the thing with Tonga. They've always had stacked forwards, stacked outside backs, but it's that spine. Isaiah Katoa will change that, but... it's going to take a little bit of time for a lot of these guys to come through.
I got to say, like, and this is, I went Tonga 13 plus because I just thought Katoa was the difference, like just a gun 7, but he just struggled so much with the timing, and it's a really good example of, like, it doesn't matter how talented you are, every team's tempo is different, and like we always talk about, like, the perfect example is Nathan Cleary when he gets to Origin. Like, there's a lot of negativity around. Sometimes he's won series, but a lot of negativity. Why can't we get Club Cleary in Origin? And a lot of the reason is because the tempos are different. There's pace, the speed, the guys outside you, people laying lines. And so, like, it's not excusing the players and saying that, they get to just play not as good as it. But it is such a tough ask to get these really dominant 7s in and go click into gear immediately. And I thought Katoa on the weekend, one way I would shore things up for Katoa is I just reckon he should think run first more often. He does it quite a lot at club these days, and I think he might average for the most meters of any half in the competition, or very high. A lot of runs in NRL. I think in these games, at least for the first half, until you get your bearings, I just would love to see him, because he's always thinking beautiful ball playing, like squaring up, late to the line. Like, he's one of the rare 7s who athletically, physically is could be as physical as some outside backs. A very rare body shape for a 7. That's what makes this hype around him. Like, we've seen players with great ball playing before. Have we seen a guy that's essentially 6 foot and is probably going to end up 100 kilos with his ball playing? Like, no, we haven't. I just would like to see when he gets to games like this, Katoa, just go run first, and then the game, you'll start to get the feel of the game a little better, because he just looked so... The timing looked all off for everyone.
Yeah, I think that there's 2 things I'd mention about that. As good as Katoa is, and I love him, I don't believe he's played finals yet, because, Dolphins haven't made finals. He's potentially not played in those big games. Running out to Suncorp, seeing it packed out, flags everywhere, potentially the occasion could have played its role. But the other thing, which I think had a bigger impact, at the Dolphins, you've got a hooker who, in Jeremy Marshall-King, I think is the most underrated 9 in the competition. His service is impeccable. Saliba Havili is a little bit more of a hybrid 9 lock. He's heading off to the London Broncos, so NRL clubs won't even necessarily after him. No disrespect to him, but maybe that service as well had an impact.
Well, we looked at Samoa, the difference. Because Havili's not really a 9; he's a utility forward, in my opinion. Now, really interesting. So Leka Halasima and Valmunga came into this game, with so much hype, and probably more for Leka than Valmunga. But with Leka, and he was great in attack. He ran for his 135 metres, 29, 4 tackle breaks, a line break, but 7 missed tackles. And the only reason why I single him out is because I think we've got greatness on our hands. I think that he needs to try to focus on coming out of a game with, look, the attack stuff will take care of itself. Can I come out of every game with 2 or less missed tackles? I think that's got to be his focus to really build out. We've seen it with Reece Walsh, him having to sort things out too defensively. I think that's probably his biggest challenge going forward, is that you're gonna watch all these shows, or they're going to be popped up in your feed, or your mate's going to send it to you, and it's going to be these players former players or guys analysing the game going, this kid is unbelievable. You just got to drown that out a little bit. And I'm not suggesting getting ahead of himself, but it's very easy to go, oh, okay, that's my strength. It is your strength. But to be great, he's got to sort out. Defensively, sometimes he can be a bit suspect. Yeah,
I 100% agree, and I mentioned the defense of the back rowers earlier on. What I will say is you could have taken pretty much what you just said verbatim, and that applies to Nene like 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah. So literally, just look to the other side of the field. You've got a guy who's an example of the fact that can turn around. He's got time. He's 20 years old. It will come. But on a stage like this, in a game of this quality, you do need to be performing at that high level.
And the only reason I bring it up, because I think he can be great. I truly think, he's 20 years old. Of course, he's not going to be the end result. He's going to take time and build out his game. But I think it's almost like the flip. I always say with Reece Walsh, he needs to, for the first half of every game he's in, think run first. Then the game will unfurl before him. I think with Leka, it's the flip. Every game he goes out, think defense first. He's too good in attack. It'll come. Honestly, he doesn't even need to think about attack. He's that good. It'll come. And I think it's a little bit similar to Reece Walsh, where there's these part of the games that you need to focus on, because all this other stuff is natural to you. It will come. You were just too good in those areas. Some other performances. Who else do you think probably, we may see changes or didn't play the best on the line?
I thought he didn't have a bad game. I just thought, obviously, Stefano was a huge loss for them. Second minute of the game, especially against that forward pack as well they were playing against.
With Jason Taumalele out as well, so that weakened their forward pack.
That's right. You need all your big dogs out there firing, because that's Samoan pack. Gee whiz, so many Origin players and stuff getting around in there. So that was a huge loss for them. Adam Fanua-Blake was pretty good, given that he had to do basically take the lead there without Stefano. But I definitely feel like that probably took the wind out of their sails a bit. They didn't have enough there to cover that against the Samoan side.
Yeah, I remember looking pre-game and just thinking, God, Samoa, you've got Haas, you've got May, you've got Paulo, Papali'i. I thought, as is, Tonga probably didn't have quite enough in the forwards to counter that. Then Stefano goes down. It was always going to be a very tough ask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's without Jason Taumalele, who's also like their spiritual leader.
Yep.
There are reasons that you can take from this Tongan performance and go, this is why this happened or that happened. I think the only one that's essentially inexcusable is the want and desire. Like if I was a Tongan fan, I'd say, listen, I'll cop, Stefano will get a tough call and injuries, and this guy doesn't even play this position. That can be fixed. I think the biggest disappointment, and I can only assume, I don't know for sure, that I think Tongan fans would feel is I never want to be out-wanted by Samoa, and I did think they got out-wanted.
Yeah, well, this to me comes back to the lightning break, where you had a 20-minute period left to go in the game. They're down by 16 points. I want to see them come out firing.
Yeah.
You're already 3 scores behind. Just throw everything at it. And it was the complete opposite. It was Samoa who really showed that. So
Now, on to Samoa. I mean, look, I know they had big wins in the World Cup. I personally think this is probably their best ever performance as a side. At least not best ever, but since I've been watching them in the last 10 years or whatever. Look, I'm more than happy to say one of their best performances, but I thought they were absolutely outstanding. Like, I really thought that Luai and Taulagi clicked so much better, and clearly they just needed some game time together. I thought Luai was great. Obviously, Junior Paulo was great. Nanai was great. I'm excited for this Samoa side. Like before game one, I was like, yeah, they could probably win this Pac Champs if they go really well. Now it's like, no, I actually think they really have a strong chance of winning Pac Champs. Now, granted, I need to see New Zealand against Tonga after one game because that will give me a good indication of how important that first game is. But let's say let's say New Zealand scrape past Tonga in a bit of a scrappy game. I think I'd have Samoa as my favourites to win it if it is the case that happens.
Yeah, and this is a side who are doing it without Stephen Crichton and Spencer Leniu. Add
And
those
the
two
Hammer.
on the side. And the Hammer, yes.
And Taylor May.
yeah.
And Taylor May and Tino will probably be part of the squad World Cup comes.
Dude, like the World Cup next year is going to be insane. Absolutely insane. But yeah, one guy who I don't think you mentioned there, Roger Chuvasashek, 276 run meters, only 62 of which were kick returns. So he was just powering through. 80 post-contact meters is insane for the veteran. I mean, when you talk about meters out of your own end and getting set started in the right way, it was a hell of an effort.
Yeah, RTS. I remember when he came back, I was super excited, like stoked. I love RTS. I think it's such an important part of our game, especially first key New Zealand Warrior to win the Dally M as well, which is super important. But I remember thinking, with how explosive he is as a player and physically he is he a bit past it? And granted, has he reached necessarily the heights? I mean, actually, you know what? This year he was very close to Dally M Winger of the Year. He's outstanding. But for him to be still doing this at this age, when he is an explosive, like a fast twitch-based athlete, it's like almost unheard of. Usually fast twitch athletes like RTS need to find other ways to impact the game. He hasn't had to do that. It's crazy.
Yeah, and especially when you look at when he was young, it was the step, right? It was the flair, it was all that. You wouldn't have necessarily thought he'd be the kind of guy who would run for nearly 300 meters, towards the back end of his career. So he's transformed with his age and used his strengths, which I think is very impressive.
So good. Who stood up for you, mate?
Well, I was just going to say their whole back three. That's a hell of a back three, isn't it? Really, you got Brian Toto there, 174 meters for him. Taulagi on the other wing, 121 for him. Like those guys are serious class. I thought, the back three for me are a big asset for that team to go with their huge forward pack as well. Like that's where they're going to really challenge. If they play again in a couple of weeks, New Zealand, if they come up against Australia in the next couple of years, they're going to cause some problems for them because they've got a lot of those key ingredients you'd see in like an Origin side or whatever as well. So, back three for me were very impressive.
And I know we spoke about him already. First of all, Brian Toto dropped the ball. What?
Yeah.
I adjusted
What
my
the
TV. I
hell
was like,
happened
what?
there? Like, look, old Copper dropped ball from like a crazy crossfield bomb and you're up there like that. He dropped a breadbasket one.
He's washed.
He's done. Career over. Yeah. You know what? He was never as good as we thought he was.
No.
I kept telling my friends all the time, nah, he's a bum. I couldn't believe it. I think, look, even though Toto was still good in the end, it's like he woke up in the second half. It was like, there's Toto we know and love. Mate, the man needs a break. Like,
He actually made 4 errors.
Yeah, the man needs a break. Like if you ever needed evidence of a bloke that's worked himself to a standstill, it's got to be Brian Toto.
Well, I remember back before the Roosters went back to back, we used to speak about how teams couldn't do it because you just played so many games. He's literally done that year after year, every Origin game, every rep game. So it's justified.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's the way he plays too. Like, I would say this about a 7 that, has 5 runs a game and, makes 10, 15 tackles a game or whatever. We're talking about essentially a front rower on the wing that plays 80 minutes every week, plus also is a great finisher as well. We really haven't seen his kind before. Like, we really haven't seen a guy. We've seen periods of wingers go, okay, for the next 2 years, I'm going to lead the meters, and every game I'm going to run for 20 hit-ups a game or whatever. We haven't seen a guy for 5 years in a row essentially be the biggest meter in the competition and be a front rower on the wing, plus also all the stuff you do as a winger. I'd say kick returns, but no one kicks to him because they're too scared. So he doesn't do that, which makes his meter making even crazier. And so, I just think if the Panthers can somehow, some way just give him as much time off as possible, just to refresh him up. And look, maybe it was just a bad game and it's not to do with that, but you'd have to assume at some point his body says, okay. And like I spoke about, I think in off air, it might have been on air, about how one time Carmichael Hunt used to be known for running it straight off kick returns. Like everyone frothed it. It was like, this guy's the toughest guy we've ever seen. And Wayne Bennett literally pulled him aside and stopped him from doing it, because he was like, if you keep doing this, you will not have a career past 26, 27. And so that's where you saw he'd only do it every night. He said, like, pick your time. And look, it's a little bit different. Like Brian Tyler's not, running off the back fence straight on kick returns every time because everyone's too scared to kick from him. However, there's only so much a body can take. Surely at some point his body goes, I need a bit of a break.
Yeah, and they've got your man Milky Jenkins in the side who can't crack it. Like, maybe there can be a bit of time off.
Get him in there. Get Milky in there. But yeah, I think a big, like even to the point where as long as he can come back and not have to worry about injuries, even if he comes back a little underdone, I'd almost be a little bit okay with that on Penrith. As long as it's not going to increase the likelihood of injuries, I'd almost be okay with that. But look, the stars were obviously Junior Paulo and Nanai, but the real star in regards to, wow, we could have a bloody good player on our hands and wow, I can't wait to watch him next year, it was Benaya Uelu. I always say it incorrectly. But, mate, especially the first half, he was phenomenal. Getting out of dummy half, absolutely terrorising the Tongan forward pack, and then he serviced. Like, even the first try he scored, that was all off a dummy half run from the dummy half. And he nearly scored off. And then there were multiple other times where he would get out of dummy half and make 10 to 12 to 15 metres and get a quick play the ball. Roosters fans, I know you've got Robson arriving. However, if he's going to be used as an impact player, he showed on the weekend he can have impact.
Yeah, I mean, he's literally transformed by best 17 for the Roosters next year, which I think would now have probably Watson at 13, just so you can fit Benaya in the 14 jersey. He's explosive off the bench. And I remember it was like maybe 2 or 3 games into his career. You've got the likes of Tedesco, you've got Sam Walker, ball-dominant players. He pulled off a 40-20. I think it was on like the 4th tackle or something. He will back himself. I remember watching one of the vlogs Chad Townsend did pre-season, and he was talking about Uelu and said, this boy is special.
Yeah, okay. Wow.
So he's got the endorsement of Chad, which is pretty much as high as you can get in the NRL. So, yeah,
Chadwick,
it's great work.
The only man with a proceeding hairline.
Yes, very impressive.
He's coming forward each year.
Talk about consistency in the game. Chad Townsend's hairline.
Jesus.
How about it?
Like, how he didn't get a gig with some kind of hair loss bloody treatment, I'll never know.
Yeah.
I'll never know. There's been a lot of hype around Katoa at Tonga, and rightly so, the 7. But when you take a step back and you go, hang on a sec, Samoa truly might be rolling into most games with a genuine NRL spine. Not just like, makeshift guy, we'll bring him at 6. Talangi plays 6 for essentially the best squad in the history of the game. Luai, there were questions as to whether he's a 7, but I think he's kind of proven he's at least a solid good 7. Then you've got Uelu. So hard to say, I don't know why. At 9, and then at fullback, obviously you've got your choice of who you want to put at fullback as a Samoan. Like, I think it might be the first time ever they have an NRL spine.
Yeah, I mean, everyone, the forgotten man in these discussions was talking about the likes of Hammer at fullback. So Falongo, right?
Fucking Jesus.
He's dominated for them, but we genuinely forget him. So they are stacked in these positions.
And as I'm guilty of it, guys, because I've been hyping up the Katoa to Tonga, but it's actually going to be Samoa that is the first of the Polynesian sides to have a genuine NRL level spine.
Wow. And a good one at that.
Could you imagine if Samoa are the first ones to win a major, like a World Cup or whatever, before Tonga, and Tonga were the ones that kind of kick-started everything going?
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. Well, right now you'd have to say they're more likely, aren't they?
Yeah. Look, if they get all their players like a Tino and all those guys back for the World Cup...
I honestly don't think they need Tino, given the front rowers they got here.
Fair. I guess if they get everyone they want at least, heading into the World Cup, I would still have Australia's favourites, but they would be second for me. They would be second. They would be... the only thing that really helps us, not the only thing, one of the things that really helps Australia is our halves are so much better than, like Luai's a good 7, but he's not close to Cleary or Moses at the moment. Then you've got Blaze Talangi, good 6 at the moment. Who knows what he'll become, but probably not on Munster's, he's not on Munster's level. But outside of that, it really is, the 6, 7 and 9 is really the last stranglehold Australia have on the top tier, I think. Outside of that,
if you're running with a starting front row of Payne Haas, Terrell May, and Tino at 13, it's done.
Yeah, that's a top tier, as good as it gets kind of front row. So it's crazy how far the game has come. That really the only place where we're still the only club top tier is in the 6, 7, and 9. That's incredible.
I do want to say as well, we were talking about coaches earlier. Their coach, Ben Gardner, he's a guy who I didn't know much about until recently. He's slated to be the assistant coach under Mal at the Perth Bears for 2 years, and he will then take over from Mal in 2029.
And was he at Penrith?
He was.
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Matty will be able to speak more about him. He's
Yeah, he was my PE teacher at school.
No way.
Yeah, and he was my best mate's neighbour, so I actually know him very well.
What's his garden like?
Wow. But no, he's been around the traps for ages. Like, he was the assistant coach.
That's so fucked.
Yeah.
I still reckon it's good.
He was assistant coach of the Roosters when Freddie was the coach, like 15, 20
wow.
years ago. So he's been around for ages.
What's
He
his skincare routine? He's looking young ass.
Yeah, I know. Like, he coached, he's been through South, Sharks, Penrith. He coached North Sydney Bears, New South Wales Cup. He had good success there. Like, he's been around for a long, long time. And yeah, he's doing good things at the moment.
And I mean, like on the other side, Christian Wolf, gun coach as well. So
yep.
Just another, anyway, international games looking great. Before we move on, anyone else in Samoa that stood out for you boys?
I'm good.
All good?
They were humming though. Very impressive.
I got sent actually. Josh Papali's son has his own Instagram.
Oh,
and it is
really?
Hilarious, bro.
He is hilarious.
He is actually
interviewed him a
hilarious.
few times, didn't they, before his 300th game or record-breaking game with the Raiders. Just like a little clone. Got the same kind
Literally
of,
a clone.
same kind
I've
of hair.
never seen a son look so much like the father.
Yeah,
It's insane.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So he's got his own Instagram and it is hilarious. I'll when I get a chance, I'll try and find it so you can give a follow. So good. Okay, guys, we're not going to actually have time to go deep in the trades show, so we'll probably try to do that tomorrow. However, there have been some big news. So global round 1 global round. Reports are that Vlandis is looking to potentially every team plays in a different country. Now, with Vlandis, he's a mover and shaker. I just wonder, is this a negotiate? Like, are they about to renegotiate with Vegas? And that's why he's so good at doing this. Like, we're thinking about doing this other thing. Now, maybe that's conspiracy, too much of a conspiracy. However, it's a cool concept. It's a lot of money, but I love the concept. And I think, geez, talk about just going, straight ahead of AFL in regards to the hype for round 1. But we've got the best man to speak about it. Global round 1. What are your thoughts? What are your insights? Give us what you think.
It's incredibly up my alley. This is the kind of thing where I was a kid. Like, I would have dreamt about this. It's funny. I had a conspiracy theory of my own down a similar route. You're looking at R360 right now, the global thing, getting plays everywhere. I wonder if it's Vlandis saying NRL can be global too. You can still travel the world while being a rugby league player.
Interesting.
That has its own negotiating element.
Is he trying to push R360 out of the news cycle too, potentially?
Could be. Could well.
It's a big thing to just kind of throw out there pondering about,
I mean, he thinks about things on a deeper level, I think, than a lot of us do. So, could well be dictating the narrative in that sense. But I would love some more concrete information about exactly how they want to do it. I saw Michael Chammas talk about potentially having all 9 games back to back to back over the course of a whole day. Not how I would personally do it.
No way.
I think even the most rusted on fan is just going to be done by the end of that day.
No,
but have 3 games across 3 days.
Have a normal weekend, I reckon.
Yeah, even that.
Yep.
So the only thing, without getting ahead of myself, so it's in 2027. There are a lot of Perth fans who are saying, "Well, hang on, we wanted to have our first game be in Perth." You could technically, I guess, have Perth be one of the cities because it's still novel to rugby league at that point. But I just love the fact that we're showing ambition in this area.
And look, negative Nancy, but how the hell would we afford this as a game? Like, we made, I think, they didn't even say profit, I don't think, but they said something like 50 million or whatever. That honestly, 50 million wouldn't cover it. Okay, so what? Let's say you got to travel 17 teams, and each team it costs them $2 million to go. Like, it would just cover it.
It'll be 18 teams as well by that point.
18 teams.
Yep.
So it would just cover it. Would it generate enough revenue? Because obviously you're not just, you'd make some money back. You're not just fucking losing all of it. But you're probably looking at about a $20 million hit initially.
First year, I don't think it would be particularly successful. You're looking at it as a long-term investment, for sure. But yeah, look, I'm a big picture thinker. I obviously love the thought of it. But in terms of a business case, I'm a little skeptical. It all depends on marketing. That's the thing. Like with Vegas, I am a firm believer that although they tried to sell it to Australian fans as like we're growing the game in America, it was marketed towards getting Aussie fans on a plane over there. So, that same appeal doesn't necessarily hold when you're playing in like Dubai, for example. I don't know if as many Aussie fans will go over. Do you market it more towards the locals? Try and get them genuinely around it.
But then, like, what's the long-term play with that? The only other thing I could think of is like, financially, the problem is like if I'm Fox and the TV rights are there, like whether you play in Australia or Vegas, the ratings aren't that much difference. So the only thing I can think of is he's taking this as a package to Fox to go, like, you're going to have to chip in more because we are going global, because otherwise I don't see how the revenue is generated. Like, as I said, from a Fox perspective, you're like, okay, sounds cool, and yeah, we get an extra 100,000 viewers, but that doesn't move the needle for us. Like, it really doesn't, unless you've got Fox who are really long-term thinkers and saying like, this grows the game or whatever. And so the only way I see them making money is from an upped TV rights deal, because I'm trying to think like, you're not making money from tickets to the ground.
Yep.
You're not making money from TV rights in these other countries. Merchandise, you're not making profit, but you make money, but not profit. So it's just like, whereas like the Vegas one, even if it's a true or not true, you can convince me that the American audience is a possibility. So I go, you know what? Like, that's the end goal. Whereas a global round, what is the end goal other than having the most hype round one ever?
Yeah, and I'm not sure. I mean, when I first heard this news, I felt like maybe it could be that Vegas, we've still got 3 more years to go. I feel like kind of the excitement's dying down just a tad compared to the first couple of years.
I don't think that they can go, like, once this next 2 years is done, they cannot go again.
There's 3 more. It was a 5-year deal.
That's a concern. That's a concern. So I don't think the hype's going to be there.
I thought maybe it could be to offset that.
Yeah.
But then, how high do you go if you're just constantly trying to be bigger than the last thing you did?
And really, it's just hype. What's the revenue? What's the money making probability? Really, all you're doing is, I just want to be more hype than last year.
Yeah.
Which is...
But what I will say is that these are reports of discussions being had. So I'm at least happy that these options are being explored. They could come to the conclusion that it's not worth it, and so be it.
I think one thing, and I was guilty of this too. Some work, when you go to work each day, it's a very simple job. Like, go pull those cables. Whereas like when you hear ideas like this, Blandy's is just not just throwing. That sounds disrespectful, but he's like, doesn't mean that he's fully committed to it. He is a big thinker, and that's something that we lacked for so long in rugby league, was big thinkers. It was conservative thinking. It was keep the ground that we have, rather than let's try some shit. Some will work, some won't work, and that's what I like about Blendies. And I think like some people are like, oh, you're crazy or whatever, but you want a leader with these crazy ideas. If just one out of 10 land, it could be game changing. Like, for example, let's just say the Vegas hit for some reason. In America, we got 2% of their population. That's not just like a little win. That is game-defining win. That goes from essentially nearly doubling our audience each year, which is game-defining, change the game. And so I like that Blandy thinks as big as he does. I really do. I don't want to be negative about it, but I'm just trying to think, like, how could we afford that as a game? Like, what do you reckon, Matty's a fan?
I like the big picture. I suspect if you had a global round, like round 1 is Vegas. Everyone talks about Vegas. Everyone goes to Vegas. Vegas is almost bigger than the games. If you have it in a few different cities, wouldn't it dilute each kind of city? Like, okay, we have one game in London, and then it's just done.
Would it be like it's a tough one, because you're right. If we had enough fans where it was just the fans of those teams going, and that was enough to, fulfill what they wanted, then you could get away with it, because everyone's like siloed in their own fan base. But I think with Vegas, like, a lot of people that aren't even fans of these teams go.
Yep.
And that's what makes up the bigger numbers. So you're right. Like, if it's already, sectioned up where you've got, I don't know, let's just say 40% of people that go to Vegas are not fans of those teams. They're going for the experience. It would dilute, where do those 40% go to? Do they go to Vegas? Do they go to the other town that's been announced? And also, what product do you get when you get there? Like, let's say I'm a fan of the team, I get there. Of course, I'm happy to see the Broncos play, but if I'm going to go halfway across the world, I probably want more than just
definitely
one game, potentially.
It depends how much you embrace the local culture from an NRL perspective, how much do they genuinely get around it, and also which places you pick. I mean, Look, I'm biased. I grew up in the Netherlands, but I've spoken for so long about how I think the Super League should do something with Amsterdam being just across the pond. Amsterdam's obviously, a good tourist destination for a number of reasons.
So cool.
That would be cool to lean into. But
All those red lights, you scoundrel.
Rabbitohs fans in the red light district, Cowboys fans in coffee shops, like it's just.
I went there with my wife, and like when you walk through that district, you just like this, looking straight ahead. Like for people that don't know, there's lovely ladies in shop fronts that are just sitting there, scantily clad. But being a loyal husband, I looked directly ahead and was just thinking about rugby league.
Yeah, I went earlier this year as a single bachelor, so slightly different.
Just like walking like that.
Yeah.
It's okay. You can look at it and you go like that. And you go, you piece of shit. How dare you look at it? But I tell you what I will say is Amsterdam as a city, it actually, like the reputation is like weed and obviously that. It's so much more than that. And it is like, there is stuff there that's so much better than that, if I'm being honest. It's such a beautiful city. All the ponds and what about how in Amsterdam, people just leave their bikes. Like there are bikes everywhere, It's crazy. Such a good pancake shop. Had the world's best pancakes when I was there.
Yep.
I will say, went to Anne Frank's house and you think you're prepared. Like as a human, you go, look, one of the saddest stories in human history to a degree. But until you actually are standing in the room that she wrote that stuff in, it hits you like a ton of bricks. When you hear her writing about her first kiss, you're just like, fucking shit, it's so fucking fucked. Incredible stuff. Anyway.
But see, this is what I said earlier you mentioned that if you're a Broncos fan, you go there, you want to see more than just the Broncos play. This is how the NRL could embrace the local culture, get packages that involve all of these things.
Yeah, true.
But it's a lot of work.
Yeah. So. Each team, maybe, or two teams, because two teams are the same. Okay, so that's the global thing. Okay, so guys, we're not going to have time for the transfer show. We're not going to have time, but what we'll do is tomorrow we'll sit down, myself and Matty, and we're going to go through the transfers and stuff. And then once transfers begin to happen, we'll have a real deep dive. And also we have the squad preview show each year, whether it's January or now, where we literally go through the squad and go like, what's their halves depth like? So there are going to be times. So apologies we didn't get to it. We just have ran out of time. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else in regards to big news?
To mention, France have qualified for the upcoming World Cup next year.
Shout out France.
Yeah, beat Jamaica.
France.
The final berth will be decided between Cook Islands and South Africa at Combank on Pacific Championships final day.
What do you reckon is more stereotypical? Us saying croissants to French people or them saying kangaroos to us?
I used to get shrimp on the barbie all the time.
Yeah, it's like, bro.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, we say prawn. We say prawn. It's not shrimp, but anyway.
And I will say a croissant in Paris was one of the nicest croissants I've ever had. So that stereotype rings true, at least for me. Yeah, that stereotype rings true. Congratulations, France. Congratulations. I'm trying to think, is there anything else? Make sure to guys sign up to Lontel, best internet all the land with all the big games coming out. Grab your grumpy coffee. Give Leaguie a follow on YouTube, on Instagram as well. Anything else at the moment, Matty?
PNG beating Cook Islands.
Yeah, we could talk about that. I didn't see all of the game, to be honest, so I'd be talking a bit out my ass. I saw a bit of the back end. I will say, great for PNG, and I don't want to take anything away from their win, but I actually think Cook Island got out a lot more out of this than PNG did. We know PNG is a relatively good side, but they scored a couple of those tries late. With 5 to go, I think it was 34-28. That's incredible for the Cook Islands. Like think about it. PNG have a Q Cup side. They have a new NRL club coming into this soon. Rugby league is their number one sport, and Cook Islands were within a try in a certain period of the game of equaling it.
Yeah, they're a nation of 15,000 people.
Oh.
Genuinely. And they're the perennial punching bags of Pacific Rugby League, but they can be so proud of their efforts this year. So proud, in my opinion. It was really great to see. And you look at the side that they could field in next year's World Cup should they beat South Africa. You've got Valentine Holmes, who's committed. Davey Mwale can come in. Yep. Willison, if he doesn't make the Kiwi side, is Cook Islands eligible. So it's a decent side when you put all that together.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just Googled the population of Alexandria, the suburb we're in, which is almost 12,000.
That's the thing that
is mind-blowing.
These Polynesian nations should not be doing what they're doing. Population-wise, it's not even close to what Australia have, but they continue to do it. I love the fact that Iro is a part of this Cook Island side now, because he got injured this year, but sometimes it just takes top-tier players to be playing for that current nation to bring it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Currently in form gun players Whereas sometimes you'll have gun players, but they're like at the back end of their career and they've chosen to come back late. The good thing about Iro, and I think that'll attract a lot of people, like he's if he played all year, I would consider him a top-tier centre, but he's a top-tier player in the form of his career choosing to play for the Cook Islands. Like I think that's because he would have been up for selection for the Kiwis, surely.
Yeah, almost certainly. Yep.
So I think that's a really, really good thing for the Cook Islands.
Yeah, I mean, they were carried by Brad Takarangi for so long.
Mate, he's a king over there, isn't he?
Absolutely.
Roll the red carpet out.
To finally see someone else come in, so it's not, a 38-year-old Takarangi who's doing it. It's really, really good to see.
Yeah, absolutely. But as I said, guys, I only watched the back end of it, so I didn't, I could sit here and pretend I watched it, but I didn't.
I will say on the PNG side of things, there are a lot of good performances, but the one that I'm watching closely is Lachlan Lamb. He, to me, was a cut above everyone else. He put a really, really good performance in at halfback. I mentioned last week off air, both him and his dad, Adrian, are off contract at the end of 2027. PNG coming in 2028. You could have them be the poster boys of the whole thing. And I know he's had his go at the NRL before, but it would be great to have it led by two guys who are from Papua New Guinea.
Yeah, and he's played for PNG for so long now. Like he's always put his country first when it comes to, he could have had years off and all that kind of stuff. Just quickly back on the Cook Islands side, on the PNG side, your man's done it again. Jason Demetrio has come out and said, essentially said, the NRL needs to keep an eye out on IPAP, the number 9, because he's one of the best 9s I've ever seen. And I'm just like, JD, look, I love it. I love the chat, but you're setting him up for like one of the best you've ever seen, bro. And this is coming from a guy from IPAP. Like I think he's absolutely should be playing NRL, but it's just like when you put that in with the Reynolds, the Ilias chat, it's just like, bro.
Well, and unfortunately for NRL fans, Ipape signed a 6-year extension earlier this year to stay in the Super League, so I don't think we will get to see him. But certainly a lot of pressure.
Listen, look, you guys know I love to be hyperbolic. I love that shit, but JD, he loves it. And look, it's great for me. It's great for me. Matty, what are your thoughts, mate?
I mean, it just gets watered down after the whole Ilias thing. And like nothing against Ilias, but he said he's going to be the best halfback to ever play for the Rabbitohs. Like whatever he said. Like so when he says this 2 years later, I just roll my eyes, to be honest.
I will say I love JD's positive attitude. Like I actually really do. I just think that in his mind he's doing a good thing. Like he's pumping him up. It's in the music, but in the world of social media, it's just like it smashes you. Yeah. I'm glad that JD is over there coaching though, because he's an NRL coach. He really is. Like it didn't work out at South. There was a lot more going on than just him at South. I'd be happy to see him work his way back into an NRL side. I really will, because he seems like a pretty decent bloke, JD.
Yeah, and he's now got a role at the London Broncos, who are obviously building something very exciting over there. He's attracted lots of big names, so good to have the best ahead of him in terms of his coaching.
But as soon as I saw that quote, I thought immediately of Matty. Because Matty, let's just say, look, they let go of Reynolds, and it's a bit of a tough history for South fans over the last few years.
I'm going to be talking about that to like my great grandkids, I reckon. Like my pop still talks to me about how like Ron Coote left South to go to the Roosters. Like that's going to be my thing to generations below me.
I'd love to know. Is it the worst retention decision in the history of at least the modern era of the NRL?
Well, I think it's definitely the worst Rabbitohs one. You could argue, Thurston, the Jogs letting go of Thurston.
But he wasn't the main man then.
Exactly. So
how could have they known? And Sherwin was killing it.
Yeah.
Like they couldn't have known then. Reynolds had won you comps and you'd been in a prelim essentially every single year and another grand final. He went away 2 grand finals and a premiership.
Yeah. And he was your boy. The local
He
boy.
was the boy. And all he wanted was 2 years. Not more money, he just wanted 2 years.
I tell you what, I'll be reading about it in his book that comes out this week.
Thank you for reminding me. Guys, Adam Reynolds' books comes out and there is some really honest stuff in here. I applaud him and his family for putting this stuff out because it's going to help a lot of people. This is really private stuff that I'm sure a lot of people deal with privately, but they don't talk about it because, we've got this stigma on it all. So this comes out this Sunday, did you say?
28th. So that could be tomorrow, actually. It might be out tomorrow. I'll check.
So get it. It seems like a really, really interesting read, guys. I cannot wait for it to come out. Shout out to the boy, Reno. That's it, I think. That's pretty much it. Sorry with the Cook Islands PNG, guys. I didn't have time for it. I watched the last probably 15 minutes or so. I had my niece's birthday on the weekend up on the Gold Coast, so it was hard. So
Just one more thing on
apologies
Euro, just before we go. This is a quote earlier in the year. It was a tough decision last year, but this year I'm focused on getting Cook Islands into the World Cup. As a nation, we need to win that qualifier against South Africa, which is, I think, next month.
They'll pound
so we can get back on the world stage. Qualifying for the World Cup would be huge for us. Would hopefully bring more sponsors to the team. There's a couple of big names that are committed who will hopefully come out soon and play for us at the end of the year. So that's mad. That's awesome that he's done that.
Absolutely.
The kind of thing you never would have heard like 5 or 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So
Seriously, like 15 years ago, I would have been like, just Cook Islands have a side.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not saying it to be rude. It's just, and that's my ignorance, not anyone else. That's how far they've come. Now I'm looking at them going, okay, that's them at full strength is pretty good. It's an NRL side at least.
Yep.
Alrighty, it is time for Face the Music, brought to you by Sportsbet. As always, a massive thank you. Give us a follow on the feed, guys. Huge things playing with Sportsbet. Cannot wait, especially for the new year. But what have we got this week, mate?
Yeah, let's go with two internationals. Love to see you guys get on the board here as well for Face the Music. So, see how you go. We'll kick off with the England-Australia game. This one up at Liverpool. $5.90 for England-Australia, $1.12. Winks-like odds in the head-to-head betting. The line is 18.5 points, which is big. So I'd love to get your result and, of course, a try scorer as well.
Listen, I'm going to be a coward here, but I think it's more important that I don't have to walk around something nude.
Yep.
I'm going Australia head-to-head.
Oh, my God. Jeez.
Listen, hey, I won this year, so I got respect from that. It's still got some.
And you're just flushing it down the toilet. That's what's happening?
Yeah, well, I'll drink it back out.
All right. Well, all right, Australia head-to-head. And a try scorer?
I'll go Katoni
Stags. Nice. Leaguie?
jeez, I'm suffering some second-hand embarrassment after that.
Yeah, same here.
This bloke.
It's contagious.
You're on the England guy's side. Yeah.
Well, juries, unless he goes Australia head-to-head, I'm on his side.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I'll unfortunately go Australia 13 plus. I think it could be a shellacking if they complete.
Yep.
I was going to go Stags. Now I need to pick someone else. I'll go Shibasaki, the GOAT, to get on the board.
Yeah.
The Goaty's
Story
back too.
that'd be.
It's coming back, the Goaty too.
He is. So look out.
You know what I reckon for the grand final? Like Madge was like, you need to sacrifice something that means more than your child, and that's why he shaved the goatee for the grand final to show his commitment to the team.
And it worked. Worked wonders. Worked wonders. Yeah.
I'm going to just reload. I'll go Aussies 13 plus, Reece Walsh.
Okay. Copy and paste. I'll go Aussies 13 plus, and I'll do the same. I'll go Hudson Young.
Hudson Young.
Still hopefully getting a little bit of value there. I think he's due to score one. The next game. It's Sunday, Arvo, Eden Park as well. This will be elite. New Zealand, $1.39. Tonga, $3. Now, I'm pretty sure last time they went over there, I think Tonga got the job done from memory last year. They did, because it got them into the Pacific Championships final.
Yes, you're right. Yep.
So 8.5 points is the line in that one. Who do we like?
Going Kiwis head-to-head.
Yep, $1.39.
And try scorer, I will go Casey McLean.
Yep.
I'll go Kiwis 1 to 12, and a bit of a rogue one because he wasn't actually in the side for game one, but Keanu Keeney, anytime try scorer, fullback.
Okay, is he starting
yeah.
fullback?
It's not been named yet.
You're assuming?
But I think so.
Wow,
Definitely
that's a
goes
risky
2
one.
weeks in a
Going
row
rogue.
picking someone that doesn't play.
I know that. Yeah, that would be.
Just really wants to do this nudie run.
Yeah, he's so keen.
I'll go Tonga with the 8-point start.
Yes.
Is that fine? And I'll go Cooler anytime.
Gotcha. I'm going to go the Kiwis to cover the 8.5, and I'm going to take Mulatalo.
Oh, no, ACL.
Oh, poor old Ronnie. Who's going to come in then on the wing, on that left-hand wing?
They got a few, don't they? I'd have to sit down. Maybe Casey McLean goes to the wing, Chance to centre, Kinney at fullback.
Chan's potentially injured as well.
Okay.
They did call some guys into the side. Zach Docker-Clay was one. It was sort of two utilities. I was a little bit.
I think they'll probably move Casey McLean to the wing, Chance to centre, and Kinney at fullback. I think that's probably what they'll do.
Gotcha.
Seb Chris is apparently named in the side, so he could then.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe Seb Chris.
Maybe I'll go with Timoko.
Okay.
Score anytime. Happy with that?
Man, they should start Kinney. Seriously.
Yep.
They should start it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's a Face of Music brought to you by our friends over at Sportsbet. Give us a follow on the feed, guys. You can copy them. And as always, a massive thank you to Sportsbet. All right, give Leaguie a follow. Instagram, YouTube, all that good stuff. Grab your grumpy coffee. And as usual, we'll go fuck ourselves. Thank you.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.